Lowe's knows how to get your lawn ready for spring. And right now, you can get up to $20 off select Scott's Triple Action Fertilizer. Plus, get a Cobalt 40-volt 15-inch string trimmer or leaf blower. Your choice, $149, only at Lowe's. Get set for spring. Visit us in-store or online today because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 3/9 through 3/22. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Scott Norton, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review nights 8 through 11 of the New Japan Cup and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping a Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, prowrestlingtees.com/social suplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW-EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com. Frequently updated and with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, I know you are a big foodie and you like finding all, the great restaurant spots or different types of food. So what is your favorite burger joint in Tampa?
Oh, that's a great question. Before I answer that, let me do this. Pop one open for the working man. You know what I'm saying? Best burger joint in Tampa. I don't know that I have a favorite burger joint in Tampa. Like, are you about to, enlighten me in some way to something?
I was asking, and then I was going to ask, how do you feel about Five Guys?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh man, yeah. I don't know that I necessarily have a favorite burger joint in Tampa. I used to have a place that before we get to the joke, there was a place in Seminole Heights, the Refinery, and it's closed now. And it was definitely like, 2010s, indie sleaze sort of like place. They serve all your drinks in mason jars. All the like dishware doesn't match. They bought it at like Salvation Army. They have like chalkboards that you can write on in the bathroom, like the entire wall of the bathroom. It's like a reclaimed house. Like it just, you know what I'm talking about. It's one of those places.
Yeah.
All the men are wearing bow ties and fucking suspenders and like, the newsboys hats or whatever, that sort of thing. But they had a rotating menu. Every week, the entire menu was completely changed depending on what they were able to get from their partners at the like local markets and shit, whatever. but one thing was a staple: the burger. They had the same. Now the thing is, the burger changed every week, but the patty was the same. They got it locally sourced from like, these cows that like were free range in the Rome, blah blah blah, whatever. But they would change what was on the burger every week. So like you still get the same delicious patty, just a different experience. So yeah, but they closed. So like I haven't found a burger that was comparable to that one just yet.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. In fact, like now that we're talking about it, like, did you see that movie, The Menu?
I did see that actually, yeah.
You saw it?
I
oh
did,
my
yeah.
God. I can't believe there's a movie we both saw. Bro, at the end of that movie, like me and my girlfriend, we were driving home and we're like, we should get a burger. So I got a cheese champ from Checkers. For those of you that are listening in other parts of the country, you might know that restaurant by the name Rallies.
Right, yeah.
Did you know that shit?
Yeah, I know there's Rallies, yeah. It's kind
Rallies
of
and Checkers?
same gimmick, different branding.
I think it's like Hardee's and Carl's Jr. are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I don't have a current favorite burger place. Is there a burger place that you can recommend to me?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't feel like Tampa has a really ton of good burger places. There was a place called, it's kind of similar situation. There's a place called Square One Burger that was in South Tampa off of Henderson. They had like this buffalo burger that had these huge, massive onion rings on it that I would get all the time. But they're no longer open either. And that was one of my favorite places.
You know who's got a good burger? Aussie Grill.
You know what? Yes. Yeah, Aussie Grill does have a good burger.
They got a good burger. That bacon bomb burger with the chutney.
We do have a Shake Shack now here in Tampa.
Really? Where is that?
It's off of Dale Mabry, kind of not too far away from the stadium.
I'm about to hit that up. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't count those types of places. Like, the chains, like, when you're asking me about, like, a good local Tampa burger, I'm not going to, because, I mean, we got, like, Burger Fi, Burger Monger, Burger Monster. There's, like, a bunch of places like that we can go to. But you were mentioning to me an old familiar favorite. What burger place was that you were mentioning?
Five Guys.
Oh, I was confused for a second. I thought you said just Five Guys. You meant Five Guys, like Five Guys burgers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What do you think I was talking about?
Some Jags. Some dudes.
Oh man.
from the Shinnyhan. That's what I thought you were talking about. I was confused for a second there. Oh man, yeah. We now have just Five Guys.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get to that. Now, yeah, that was my poor attempt of making burger humor off of the new stable name.
Everybody's gonna be making this joke. I mean, they're already like making this joke on commentary, but like, yeah, we'll talk about it. But for those of you that are uninitiated, spoiler alert: there's no longer just four guys. There's just Five Guys. Apparently, they need to change the name.
Yeah, that's.
I wanted them to have 5 members and keep the name Just Four Guys. Is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Or continue to add members and continue
Still
to
just
stay
be
just four guys.
Or it could be the club. The club is Just Four Guys, FOR, not FOUR. They could have done that.
Oh, like Just for Men.
Yeah.
Hair Club for Men. Okay.
Yeah.
Or you add members, but quarterly, there's some sort of elimination process to where they're going to quell the undesirables, and it will always revert back to four guys after a certain period of time.
They look around. One of these guys is not like the other. Oh man. But yeah, we're kind of jumping the lead here. New Japan Cup. We'll talk about just Five Guys and everything that has been going down in the tournament. So let's pick up from where we left off last week, which was night 8 of the tournament. And I do know
previously on Keeping It Strong Style.
As most of the time you guys listen to this show, it's probably the finals are already been happening. We'll already know who won the tournament, but we still got action from previous week to review. And next week we'll talk about.
I think we all know who's going to win this tournament at this point.
We'll talk about that. There's a debate about that.
Really? I don't feel like there's any debate, but we'll see.
Okay. So last time we left off night 8, which was March 15th. So on the undercard, we had Aaron Henare defeating Yuto Nakashima. We had the United Empire, Jeff Cobb and Aussie Open defeating Bishamon and Rhea Oiwa. We had, at the time, Just 4 Guys defeating the House of Torture. The Bullet Club team of Chase Owens, El Phantasmo, and Kenta defeating the Guerrillas of Destiny of Jado and Tamatonga and Ren Narita. The Chaos team of Leo Rush, Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, and Yo teaming up with Tomioka Hanma to defeat the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu Sanada, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito. And then we got to the tournament action here. So in the semi-main event, we had a second round match with the Rebel, David Finlay, defeating the champion of the British, Great O'Khan.
You need the Rebel. I need the Rebel. The Bullet Club needs the Rebel.
Everybody needs the Rebel.
The world needs the Rebel.
Dude, Gato's hilarious.
Gato's incredible. And he's right. The world needs the Rebel.
So what do you think about this matchup?
This wasn't my favorite match of the tournament, to be honest with you. So obviously we got David Finlay here, the quasi leader of the Bullet Club, fresh off his heel turn, taking on Great O'Khan, who is the current reigning Rev Pro undisputed British heavyweight champion. Got the bye into round 2. So, did O'Khan beat somebody to get to this stage? No,
he got a bye.
Okay, so this was his first match in the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like the slotting here because obviously David Finlay is kind of being hot-shotted to go through the tournament. And O'Khan is a guy that, I guess we've talked about this in weeks prior, that, they did do a good job during this tournament, eating certain people up, pushing different story elements and narratives, and giving people who typically wouldn't have an opportunity to shine a good chance to do that here during this tournament. But I feel like O'Khan could have, or maybe should have been one of those guys. And coming in, this was his first match of the tournament. He's a guy that that a lot of people are expecting big things from. And I don't know if this match really maximized those minutes to create that sort of element for him. I mean, it was 13 minutes. It was a good match. It wasn't a great match. I don't know that I felt like David Finlay and him had the best chemistry in the world. I mean, it was a good match. They told a good story and they got a lot out of it, but this is kind of a forgettable encounter, and it's one where the most noteworthy thing about it is the fact that David Finlay got the clean victory over Great O'Khan, just like he did over Tomohiro Ishii and others, and he moves on in the tournament. But I wasn't overly impressed or enthused with the match itself. It was just kind of fine.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of a weird dynamics here. Also, you have two heels. I know United Empire can be face leaning at sometimes, but they're mainly heels. So you had two.
O'Khan is the most heel leaning individual in the group, though.
Exactly. So you essentially have two top heels here facing off. So there's very little crowd reaction to this matchup because people obviously they didn't really want to cheer for either guy here. And yeah, you mentioned their chemistry was just off, and I didn't like the fact that I feel like Finlay kind of steamrolled O'Khan in this match. And I get that he's getting the hot push, he's in the finals now, but again, Great O'Khan is one of these young guys back from excursion in the last couple of years. He's been kind of getting this very slow roll push. They haven't really gone full steam on him yet. They haven't strapped the rocket to him. And it's like, why would you beat him in this first round matchup against another heel? Like, if you want to get somebody over, why don't you put Umino versus O'Khan? There's history there. There's Rev Pro implications there. And then Umino could have beat Great O'Khan. I thought there was a story there. But here you have two heels, and I don't feel like there's quite a story there, dynamic, and Finlay just kind of steamrolled this guy.
Well, the argument against that is it's tough to be the booker, and there's a job to do, and sometimes someone has to lay down and do the 1, 2, 3, and if ultimately they're going to swing back around on the guy and present him opportunities later on, it's going to all work out, and we shouldn't overblow it, and that's typically true. But where I do agree with you, and why I feel like this is particularly egregious is the fact that Okan returned from excursion. We're coming up on what, almost 3 years now?
Yeah.
And it's feeling like, man, he's been through several of these tournaments already. This is probably a second or third at this point. I think it's his third. And it's like, when are we going to see the elevation of Okan? When are we going to see the, I don't know if it even has to be the rocket, jetpack put to him, but like, when is he going to be given something meaningful, as opposed to like, this was kind of disappointing. Like, I understand that the story is David Finlay, and I'm not even saying that David Finlay shouldn't have won here, but another tournament another opportunity comes, and another, time where Okan is just kind of an afterthought. And it's like, damn, I mean, I don't expect him to win a G1 necessarily at this point. So what, next year? Maybe. I don't know. Is it too soon to start speculating? Is Okan getting passed by? And I know that might seem a little hyperbolic, but like, I don't know, like, when is that there going to be an avenue for this guy to even be a player? You know what I mean?
Right.
I guess he's going to need to have a really good showing in this year's G1. And maybe that's something we should keep our eyes peeled for. But right now, he's just cannon fodder for Finlay.
Yeah, and I get it. There's probably people with the old, wait and let it play out, wait and see what's going to happen. But like you're saying, year after year, it just seems like this guy's kind of stuck in neutral. He's been back for a while now. He's the Rev Pro British champion, and historically, whoever is a Rev Pro champion usually is booked pretty strong in New Japan. We've seen Zach with the belt, Will Ospreay with the belt, guys who were usually...
Well, that was before the Sex Pest, Jeremy.
I guess that's true.
That was before Speaking Out.
Yeah.
Different day.
Before the Europe scene was canceled. But yeah, so, he's a top champion for one of their partner promotions, and he's kind of in that middle line push. And, they were pushing him and Cobb as a team, but now you have Aussie Open in the United Empire. Not really going to go full board with Jeff Cobb and Great O'Connor as a team now.
Last thing I'll say about it is, I think the one thing, if this was going to be the booking, the one thing that could have potentially, that's not even a word, potentially benefited both guys is going out there and having a great match, quote unquote banger, if you will.
Yeah.
I do think that David Finlay has had a good run in this tournament. And I think that the new look and the new presentation is helping a lot. And that first match he had with Ishii was outstanding. But since then, we haven't really seen a lot of super top-notch work necessarily from him in these matches. And I feel like if you're trying to get him over as a top guy to lead this top faction, he should be having really great matches. And I feel like with Okan, he's kind of in the same boat where he needed to have a really, if you're gonna lose, this is something I joke with Rich about. Like, I do have friends in the industry, and I have friends in the industry, and one of them was like asking me, he's like, I'm always losing. Like, what should I do? And I was like, well, if you're gonna lose, make sure you look fucking good losing. Like, make sure that you pull a Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, oversell, baby.
And if you're going to lose, you make them look like $1 million, but you make sure that you look like $1 million. And then that way, even if you lose, who's really losing here? You know what I mean?
Bump like a maniac, sell, get that sympathy.
Yeah, that was just kind of missing here. I don't know what the deal was, but 13 minutes and David Finlay moves on, and Okan is back to exactly where he was prior to this. So I guess it's good for David Finlay because he has that name on his resume moving through the tournament.
Yeah. So yeah, Finlay got the win with the Trash Panda over Great Okan to advance. So moving on to the main event this evening was another second round match. It was Shooter Shota Umino defeating the current NJPW World TV Champion Zack Sabre Jr., 26 minutes and 12 seconds.
It doesn't happen all the time, Jeremy, but every now and again, there's just a match that happens in New Japan that everybody loves that I just don't quite get. I'm not saying this wasn't bad, but I am saying I did not love this, and I think a lot of people were pretty high on it. I didn't see any buzz like, you know, match of the tournament or match of the year or even match of the month or anything like that. But like I've seen some pretty great scores for the match. 26 minutes and 12 seconds. I don't know. I can't say that I was in love with this match. I think it was a little bit too cerebral for my tastes.
Like too much, I don't know. Break it down a little bit more, like too much by the book kind of thing or by the numbers.
I don't know that I am okay. I know that as a show, we facilitate a lot of different things between you having your personal opinions, me having my personal opinions, us trying to be objective and fair and actually analyzing the show and the wrestling and the promotion and everything like that, and then still having our own tastes and our own opinions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that week after week with the stuff that's been going on with Shota Umino, there's been a lot of backlash in the community, and we've tried to keep a fair and objective voice as it pertains to that. And I don't think that this is like a, ring the bell, throw up the red flag, wee like it's not like that. But slowly but surely, I am gradually falling more and more into the camp of I'm not sure if I see Umino as a top guy. And I know that kind of goes against some of the things I've said week after week, but another big match, another big opportunity. And even if the match was quote unquote good, I don't know that I bought it from him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even when he beat Sabre, I think Sabre was great. And I think Umino was serviceable, but I just didn't believe him. I didn't believe his fire. I thought the match was a little bit too slow, methodically paced for me. And I thought that Umino, this is something I haven't seen a lot of other people say, but this is just me. I think he's got terrible facials when it comes to the grappling aspect of wrestling. Like, there was one point where he was in a double arm bar where his arms were both tied back. Mm-hmm. And the only way he was really in trouble. Like, they were selling it like big time. Like, this could be the moment he taps. And the only way he could get out is by reaching the rope behind him with his foot that he wasn't even sure if it was there or not because he wasn't looking back. And like, Zach is wrenching back on this move, like wrenching all the way. And you just have a stone-faced, wide-eyed Umino just like looking like he's not making any grimace. He's not making any vocalizations. He's just kind of there. Is very like Naito-esque and not in a good way. and then eventually he just got his foot on the rope. And I'm like, where the fuck was the struggle? Where was the pain? Where was the suffering? How am I supposed to believe in you and have sympathy for you as a character when you're in a we're not talking about a rest hold here. We're talking about both arms pulled straight back all the way. And Zack Sabre Jr. is thrusting his hips and pulling back with all of his might. And I'm like, this is a believable finish. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't love the match. I just didn't.
Well, yeah, I'm on the opposite end. I really enjoyed the match. I was notebook with it. And I don't know. I thought that Shota Umino looked really good exchanging holds with Zach, doing a lot of the grappling and ground wrestling and keeping up with Zach. We've seen guys wrestle Zach where they can't really keep up with him and he'll kind of eat them up. And I don't feel like that happened here with Umino. I feel like he has the great basics and great, fundamentals and technique where, I don't know, to me, I think that kind of helped him here with this match with Zach, and I thought he looked good going hole for hole. I thought towards the end of the match, he did show some fire, kind of coming back from Zach's onslaught until he was able to hit the Death Rider. I'll say that's the one thing I really don't like about his offense is the Death Rider. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't quite come off like the way Moxley does it. And I know he's not doing the elevated version, but still, even when Moxley does the short version, it looks really good and devastating. But for whatever reason, I don't buy that for Umino's finish. But I thought everything else here in the match looked good.
Yeah, they did tell a really good story early on where Zach was trying to, utilize his techers to outclass and outmatch the young lad, and he wasn't able to do that. It was almost as if Umino was pretty studied up. And I think the implication was like, oh, you're working that British style? I've spent some time over in England myself.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Kyle Fletcher, I think, was on commentary, or Mark Davis, one of them, and they were talking about, Shoto's time in Rev Pro and how much he's changed, and so that added to the match also.
Right, and that caused probably from a kayfabe perspective, Zach to have to change his tactics, and he definitely focused more on his striking. I feel like there was another story element, like there was a body part that was being targeted in the match. I don't quite remember.
I think Shota was working he was working Zach's leg, I think it was.
Something like that, yeah. And so I keep in mind, again, I'm not saying this was a bad match. I think it was pretty good. People are probably a bit higher on it than I was. It didn't connect with me. Now, from a storyline perspective, the one thing that is interesting, granted, Umino did beat Zach, and Zach is the current reigning New Japan World Television title holder, and this would, in theory, basically line him up as being the number one contender for that title, since this is the first singles loss Zach has taken anywhere since he won the belt. The only thing is, those television matches have a 15-minute time limit, and it took Shota Umino 26 minutes plus to beat the champion, and there was no indication prior to the 15-minute mark that he had the goods to actually get the put the champion away. So that's one thing to kind of look out for. Even though he got the W, it took him a while to do it.
Right, and we know those TV matches are 15-minute time limits. If it goes to the time limit, the champion retains the title. So they could tell a story here. They have the title match. 15 minutes goes by. It's a draw, and Sabre wins and keeps the belt. And even though Umino didn't get pinned or submitted, he didn't win the title. So you can do a story of Umino chasing Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that win, Shota Umino qualifies to move on in the tournament. He also, potentially puts himself in contention for the TV title. So a very, very big win for him. One of the good things I will say about Shota Umino all throughout this tour is, say what you will about the Western audience, but night after night, Umino seems to be getting more and more over with these crowds, especially like with the light gimmicks and the little kids, and he's going out in the crowd handing them off to some Bret Hart-ism, if you will.
Yeah, and all his entrance too, like he comes out at a different part of the arena. They have the camera kind of
I love that,
following him to see where he's at, and then you hear that pop when he walks through, because he's walking through the crowd, and the crowds are kind of like screaming. He walks through, and that's a pretty cool entrance.
Yeah, man. I mean, you think about, like, say, for instance, Bill Goldberg back in the Nitro era, and the camera starts in the backstage area with him. That was always really cool. I like when they start these entrances with him behind the curtain before he pops out, and you're like, where is he? I don't know. Where's he coming from? It's pretty cool.
And one other thing with this matchup, before we move on, there was also a little story there of him in red shoes. I know they've been kind of very kind of slightly telling that story that obviously the red shoes, it's his dad, and here there was a point in the match where like Umino was like pushing red shoes off of him because red shoes was trying to like, hold him back or like stop him from doing something. So kind of pushing red shoes off, kind of being a little defiant to his father. So I'm wondering, we've been seeing that story slowly play out between those two. So I'm wondering if we're going to see more of that.
Yeah, mad disrespectful. So with that, we move on to New Japan Cup Night 9. This was March 17th. I believe this was a Cork and Hall show, right?
Yes.
And the opening contest, House of Torture, the team of Sho and Yujiro, they defeated the TMDK team of Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. Second match of the night, United Empire team of Hanare, Great O'Khan, Jeff Cobb, and Kyle Fletcher defeated Great Bash Hill, along with Oscar Luebe and Ryozuki Taguchi. This was actually pretty funny, though, because we got the emergence of the Great Taguchi as he came out basically cosplaying as the Great O'Khan and wrestled in, I guess, like Sabu pants.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Which was pretty funny. Yeah, he came out. He was doing the gimmick. He had the question mark on his face.
He was doing the claw
dance and everything. Pretty funny. After that, the Chaos team of Goto, Yano, and Yoshihashi defeated Tenkoji along with Tamatonga. The Chaos team of Leo Rush, Tomohiro Ishii, and Yo defeated the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, and Shingo Takagi. And then the last match on the undercard, the team of Strong Style, teaming up with Shota Umino, defeated the Bullet Club team of Chase Owens, David Finlay, El Phantasmo, and Kenta with Geto, 11 minutes and 44 seconds. And that brings us to the semi-main event and the main event, which were both tournament matches.
Yep, so the first one, quarterfinal matchup, Mark Davis of the United Empire defeats Evil from the House of Torture, 15 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, this was very interesting. I mean, obviously last week when we were on the air, we were still kind of contemplating the trajectory of the tournament as it pertained to Will Ospreay. And we kind of alluded to the idea that there was some speculation as to whether or not he'd be able to continue in the tournament or not. But we hadn't, I mean, after we went off the air was when we finally found out that they were like doing a press conference and he wasn't going to be moving on in the tournament.
Yeah.
I sort of like, I thought that they were just going to wait it out and, maybe perhaps he would still be able to compete,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we found out very quickly after that that was not the case whatsoever. And in his stead, he named the man who he defeated in the previous round, fellow stablemate Mark Davis of Aussie Open, to take his place. And I guess the logic there being that, he's the one that pushed Ospreay to his limit. And even though he lost to Ospreay, he injured him and, took the tournament away from him. So he kind of had to step in and be the substitute, which was pretty shocking. And I think a lot of people were probably expecting at that point for him to beat Evil for a variety of reasons. But probably number one, just being their placement on the hierarchy of the ladder of New Japan's, established roster. And yeah, this was pretty crazy that he beat Evil on this night.
Yeah, I know we were speculating, you mentioned last week, kind of what the Final Four was going to be like, and we were kind of looking at that Evil Sonata history and story and thinking that was a good chance that Evil could have beaten Will Ospreay had Ospreay been healthy and competed in this matchup here. So yeah, with Mark Davis being the substitute, I for sure thought, Evil's definitely winning now. We're definitely going to get Evil versus Sonata, but that was not the case. We got a very entertaining matchup here where you had everybody from House of Torture out there. You had United Empire out here. And this is one of the rare situations where this House of Torture style really worked out. Well, first of all, you're in Corkin Hall, so you have a ton of smart wrestling fans in there. They know the role here. And so Evil's getting heat here, and again, they like the underdog, so they're rooting for Mark Davis, and then you have House of Torture coming out, Sho and Dick Togo and Yujiro Takahashi, but then you have Will Ospreay arm in a sling, like calling for the troops, and the Empire rolls out Cobb, Hanare, Kyle Fletcher, and they all come out and clean house. Each one of them like laid out one of the House of Torture guys, which left it open for Mark Davis to hit the water slide onto Evil and get the win.
Yeah, this was, in my opinion, I got to tell you, I love this match. I know that, I don't know what that says about me and that I wasn't that into Shota Umino and Zack Sabre, but I fucking loved Evil and Mark Davis, and I would watch this match a million times over, as opposed to rewatching Zack Sabre and Shota Umino. But last week when we were discussing Evil and his utilization in the company and everything of that nature, I kind of pointed out how it's sort of smart that they use him as the fall guy in a certain sense. Like he beats people, speaking of Evil, to get himself to a point to where you're like, fuck, if he wins one more match, I swear to God. And then he loses, and he usually loses to somebody that really could benefit and really use the victory. And in this case, that was Mark Davis. Now, I don't know if necessarily, I don't know what was going to happen had Ospreay been here. I don't know if potentially, I think that a lot of people are inclined to speculate that this was the booking all along, that they just didn't want to change course. And so they just kind of slotted Mark Davis into Will Ospreay spot. And I think that's very plausible and maybe even likely. But sometimes bookers will be faced with the consequences of external forces that are outside of their control, like this situation. And then they have to kind of rethink things and look at the paper and be like, all right, well, I've got, let's say hypothetically, and I'm just giving you a for instance, what if Evil was going to nefariously cheat and beat Will Ospreay. I think that could have possibly happened.
Mm-hmm.
But now you've got Mark Davis in there, and it's like he already lost the last round. He's a tag team guy. He's someone that, hasn't really been established as a singles player. He had a great match against Will Ospreay, but like, how is it going to help Evil if Evil beats him? You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So I think that there is enough elements there to speculate. It is possible they might have audibled here and thought the better story is getting the United Empire all together as a united force and to thwart the, cheating ways of House of Torture to create a quote unquote, as the FDS fans like to say,
a moment.
Yeah, this was a moment. And, it really was a moment. Like to see, these guys cheating and the ref get bumped and then all the House of Torture's in there. But then the United Empire, all of them, including Will and the fucking sling.
Yes, yeah.
All come to this man's aid. It was really, really cool. And then like, as they started eliminating more and more people, it got to the end, you're like, oh my God, Mark Davis is going to fucking win this thing.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone thought he had a chance.
Yeah, they hit the Coriolis on Evil. I'm like, that's her tag finisher. Then Cobb pushes the referee back in the ring, and then Davis picks him up, hits that spinning water slide maneuver, and got the win.
Yeah, it was really fun and really cool. And I think another thing too, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I like what House of Torture does, but every now and again, because there is a certain status quo of what their matches are expected to be like and how they go and how they operate, when those get turned on their head, it's always very cathartic for me as a wrestling fan, and I buy into it. I understand that, like, they have all these shitty matches so that once or twice a year you can have a great moment like this when it comes to House of Torture. I know that, and if it was up to me, they wouldn't be having all those House of Torture shitty matches. But when this happens, I'll take it because I love it when it happens. I think it's really fun. I did notice though that the Western audience, I know it's just a small sample size, but like Cage Match did not like this match whatsoever. Like they were really low on it.
Well, it's just one of those things, Evil kind of has a reputation based off of, the turn and since, 2020. And I think with Cage Match, they kind of dig their feet in on certain guys and certain styles of matches. And so, the narrative right now is, Evil sucks and all his matches are bad. No matter if he even has a good match like this, we're still going to rate it bad so people know that Evil still sucks. And so that's kind of, I think, what's happening.
And I think because it's tied to all the tropes that he usually uses, even if they were, subverted, it doesn't really matter to most people because they just see the cheating. And I also think that there's a certain segment of the fan base that hasn't really bought in on Aussie Open, specifically Mark Davis, just yet. And I feel like a lot of those people are going to be eating crow very soon, as we can see throughout this tournament. This guy is really incredible, really talented. I mean, you and I have been saying this since we first saw Aussie Open going back, to the Rev Pro days. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people are going to be looking kind of foolish the way that they were sort of counting this man out and some of the, just different discourse about Aussie Open and their future and what's going to happen as it pertains to who's going to be the breakout star, blah 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 blah. Like I think a lot of people have been counting out Mark Davis probably too much.
Yeah, people that see Kyle Fletcher, they see his looks kind of like Will Ospreay, young, good looking, great body, do the flips, or like, yeah, this guy is going to be the Shawn Michaels. But then, Mark Davis over there, man, the guy, he's a beast, and, he's great also. His suicide dives, oh my.
That first suicide dive that he hit on Evil to start the match was fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, he crushes people with that thing, and yeah, he's awesome. I think he really showed out here. All the time we talk about guys when they get an opportunity, like they need to like really grasp it and make the most of it. And we've seen guys that get opportunities and kind of let it, slip between their fingers. Well, yeah, that was not the case here for Mark Davis. Like he grabbed this opportunity and showed out and showed what he's all about.
Yeah, I really would agree with that a lot. I think that he has kind of realized, like, if there was ever a moment to maximize what I can bring to the table, like now is the time. And that's exactly what him and Kyle during this tournament both have done. And even if hypothetically they never do break out and be singles guys, I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but let's just say they don't. I don't see how this doesn't elevate them as a tag team because, the sum of their parts, all added together, they're even greater. So, I mean, we kind of seen how good they can be apart. They're even better together. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So then the main event of this evening, the other quarterfinal matchup, was Sonata defeating Tetsuya Naito 24 minutes and 41 seconds.
Yeah, I gotta say, I liked this match. I've seen some mixed reviews on it. Some people were very low on it. Some people were very high on it. I thought it was good. Probably not great, but I thought it was bordering on that territory. I thought it was very, very good match. Obviously, there's the entire backstory. These two guys, LIJ, since 2016 when Sonata first kind of came back to not came back, but, was first brought in as the masked Mr. X or whatever they called it at the time. And kind of became like his pareja and all that sort of stuff. So these guys have a lot of history. We've seen them wrestle each other in similar situations during G1s in the past where, they're teammates, but there's tension there because Naito's a top star and Sonata kind of wants to inhabit that spot and sort of envious, and they always have heat with each other in the preview tag matches, much kind of similar to like what was going on here in the lead up to this match. The difference though is everything that preceded this, with Sonata being on this big losing streak and kind of losing himself, and then kind of getting inspired during the opening round of this tournament through his friendship with Taichi to kind of bring out a more caring aspect of Sonata's personality. And so that all kind of led up to this match here with Naito and Sonata. And Naito's been on a hot run leading into the match as well. I mean, the big win over Kijimuto in the Tokyo Dome, another cross-promotional win over Kano earlier in the month, and a few other big matches. So, I mean, Naito's sort of been on a hot streak, and it was really sort of a crossroads match here as to who was going to go over. And to see Sonata not only beat Naito, but beat Naito clean, and then the fallout of that with him getting joined in the ring by just four guys, this was a really well-told story. I don't know, for better or for worse, even if people are not high in the match, which I'm sure a lot of people were not, the story elements, which is something that we kind of speculated last week. We talked about it. We were like, looking at this match on paper, it's not something I'm like overly excited about. We've seen this match quite a few times, but what's going to happen in the fallout? And a lot of our listeners were more tuned in to this whole switch with Sonata than I think maybe we were. I think we both thought it was a possibility, but I wasn't really circling it on the calendar, thinking like, all right, on March 17th, Sonata is out of LIJ. So like the entire post match really did shock me, and it got me quite a bit.
Yeah. Before we get to the post match, I gotta talk about the match. So for me, I was not a huge fan of this match. I mean, overall, it was fine. My issues with the match was, first of all, it's your main event. You're in Korakuen Hall. You have two of the top stars in one of the top factions of the promotion, and I just didn't feel like there was a ton of fire there between these guys. Like, this was not like some great blow-away match, and I'm like, it's Tetsuya Naito, it's Sonata. Like, with their history and their chemistry, and with this being Korakuen Hall in the main event in the tournament, they went 24 minutes. I was expecting a little bit more heated match, a little bit, just a better match from these two guys. And then for Sonata, they've been telling this whole story about, how Taichi fired him up and he's starting to change his style, and we saw this whole new style in Taichi match. But I feel like that has not carried over into any of the other tournament matchups. Like, he had that 30-minute match of Kenta, and it was, to me,
I will disagree with you. We'll talk about it, but I thought his quarterfinal match was with Mark Davis, and we'll get to that. But I thought that was a really great.
Yeah, I like that match. We'll talk about that. But before then, like the Kenta match was 30 minutes. I felt that was a regular LIJ Sonata match. And then you get here with this Naito match. I felt this was another LIJ Sonata match. Like, he was doing a lot of the same stuff that he was not doing some stuff he was doing in that Tai Chi match where he was firing up, throwing all those strikes and, doing more suplex and stuff like that. So to me, I'm like, you're telling this whole story about how Tai Chi's awakened him and it has changed his game, but in the Kenta match and the Naito match, we really didn't see that. So I don't know. To me, there could have been a lot more done here with the matchup and everything they've been trying to tell. But at the end of the day,
go ahead.
At the end of the day, they were able to, they got the story over. He won, and they were able to move on with the next kind of stage of what they're doing with him.
Well, a couple things that I'll agree with you as far as the match is concerned. I mean, this isn't what I'm going to go to bat for and be like, you're wrong. It wasn't that great. But I do think it suffered from some of the same problems that we've seen from both of these guys. For the last 3 years, when it's Tetsuya Naito, if he's not wrestling, an Osprey or an Okada, the match is probably overly long. It's grounded to an unnecessary point, and then the last 6 to 7 minutes are really great. They really deliver. And I did think that this had a very strong close, and I felt like it kind of fell in line with your typical big Naito match from the past few years. Sonata, is kind of the same way. He's got certain things that if you've watched a lot of his matches, you know what to expect. There's a technical proficiency, and there are the few big flippy moves that he'll do, like the dive to the over the top ropes to the outside, and a few other big spots that are very impressive. But then it's the in between stuff where it's very lackluster and kind of just going through the motions. A little bit of that here. I did think that both guys seemed a bit a tad more invested than usual. And while this wasn't your fiery, heated blow off, send a guy off from the group sort of match, I did think that they were putting maybe 10% more effort in. It wasn't quite as slow from either guy as what I'm used to seeing from them, even in this same tournament, in previous matches in the tournament. And so that's the one thing. I did think that they were working slightly faster pace. The thing though, and we'll get to the post-match, they did not send off Sonata necessarily on the type of terms where it's okay, one of these, this guy's leaving and now he's a heel, or now we're heels, or whatever. It didn't seem like there was bad blood the same way when Evil left. It was more I have no future if I stay here. I've outgrown the group. If I'm gonna elevate, I need to leave. And the match was indicative of that sort of vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it fit that kind of mood.
Gotcha. But yeah, but like you mentioned, the closing stretch was really good. Sonata reversed the Destino into that new spinning DT thing that he's been doing. So that was a cool finish there. And then
here's one thing I don't like about that. Can I just be real for a second?
Yeah.
He's jacking all his fucking finishes from Jay White. It's one thing to just have a similar move, right? I get that the move is similar. It's just a DDT version of the Blade Runner. But he's hitting it in the exact same way with the exact same opponents that Jay White did before he left the company.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anyone else say this, but I'm I saw Jay White hit that exact same finish on Naito several times. It's literally those memes where it's can I copy your homework? It's okay, but
make it a little different. He's I'll make it a DDT.
Bro, they're doing the same setups and they're doing the same finishes. And that, to me, I don't know. Maybe other people are happy about that. Feels fucking cheap to me. If you're gonna be this great counter wrestler, you can't do the exact same counters that the dude who was known as the best counter wrestler in the business did before he left the company. It's fucking cheap.
Yeah,
I like the idea that he's building off of another person's finish that already has a kayfabe. When he hit the Blade Runner, unless you're Okada, you didn't kick out of it. So there's already a foundation, and now he's added an extra element and changed it a bit. I like that. I just don't like him hitting it in the exact same way that Jay White did.
Yeah, he went back to Gato. Oh, Jay's gone. Can I do the Blade Runner?
He's like, well, just change it, but don't don't do all the same setups. He's like, oh, I won't. And then he did. Bro, this whole tournament, every match that he's been in, he's hit the I don't even know what it
doesn't have a name yet, I don't think.
The Say Runner. I don't know.
The Jag Runner.
Yeah, the Five Guys Runner. I don't know. But yeah, he's hitting it the exact same way.
Yeah, so yeah, he gets the win, and then the post match, Tai Chi was on commentary, so he gets up and goes in the ring, and then the rest of Just Four Guys comes in the ring. Taka, Kanemaru, and Doki. And like you mentioned, tonight I was like, yeah, if I stay in LIJ, I can't grow. I'm stuck here. I need to leave. I want to, get better. So he says, I'm no longer in LIJ. He's like, now we are just 5 guys. And Shingo,
that was code. What that was code for was, I'm not Naito and I'm not Shingo, so I got to go.
Yeah, and, Sonata and Hiromu were out there. Sonata or Shingo looked pissed. He was like, I can't believe you.
Bro, Shingo was did you see the post-match comments from Shingo?
No.
Bro, so Shingo's not angry that he left. Shingo's angry that he chose Tai Chi over him. Because you know how he's had so many issues with Tai Chi, especially over the past year?
Yeah.
That's what he's pissed about. He's like, are you fucking for real? Tai Chi? Bro, we're boys. And you're going to choose Tai Chi?
Oh, man. Yeah, Shingo, his facial expressions were great. He was just like shook and pissed at the same time.
Yeah, one of the screen grabs that one of our buddies grabbed, it said like, Sonata, I'm greatly disappointed.
Yeah.
Someone's like, I'm going to save this for future use because there's so many times that would be applicable as it pertains to Sonata. But yeah, this is a big win. First time he's ever beat Naito to my knowledge, and he moves on in the tournament. Huge victory over a huge star. A lot of people were counting him out. And so we move on, and we've got a final 4 of 4 guys that have well, actually, I was going to say have never won the tournament, but Sonata has won the tournament.
No, actually, I don't think he has he? No.
Didn't Sonata win it in 2019 and then fight Okada for the title?
No.
I don't know,
think
man.
he's ever
I've
won.
lost track of this
I
stuff.
think he got close. I think he lost to Okada in the finals. And then,
Did he?
Because it was such a good match, Okada gave him a rematch once Okada won the belt back.
Well, I mean, that's the dirty little secret. The runner-up in the New Japan Cup typically does get a title shot later on, and most people never, ever acknowledge it. But yeah, you're probably right. But we've got 4 guys that, at the beginning of the tournament, most people counted out as not being capable of headlining a big Ryogoku, show against Okada. And now here we are. So from that standpoint, they've done a good job. And we move on to night 10.
Yeah, it's definitely a great job setting the field there. So moving on to, actually, before we move on, I got to say, I feel bad for anybody who has bought a Just Four Guys shirt or towel. They got Y2AJ'd.
Bro, they should have known. That is the Y2AJ. Like, if you don't think that this group is going to still be Just Four Guys in 6 months, don't buy the merch,
Yeah, why did they even make the merch if they knew that they were doing that?
Because this is a carny-ass business, Jeremy.
And yes, Okada did beat Sonata in the 2019 finals. So that's
okay, and then he went on and beat Jay at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And then turned around and defended against Sonata.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, disregard.
All right, so night 10, March 18th, we had Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Oscar Lupe and Roy Oiwa. Aaron Henare and Kyle Fletcher defeated Hunma and Yoshihashi. We had Strong Style defeating Chase Owens, ELP, and Kenta by DQ. So they've been setting up this strong openweight title match with Suzuki and Kenta, and these guys have been brawling with each other, and there's like a wild brawl here, and so that match is coming up during WrestleMania weekend at the Impact New Japan Multiverse show they're doing. Then we had Great Okan, Jeff Cobb, and Mark Davis defeating the House of Torture. Then Leo Rush, Ishii, Yano, and Yo defeated Bushi, Hiromu, Shingo, and Naito. And then we had our 2 quarterfinal matches. First, we had the Rebel David Finlay defeating the Roughneck Shota Umino.
Oh yeah, I misspoke. I was like doing the whole, we got the final 4 guys here. We're not even done with this round yet. Yeah, so David Finlay beat Shota Umino. I liked this a bit more than the match he had with Great Okan, but I don't know. This didn't really stand out to me for either guy, really, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I liked it a lot. I thought this was a better Finlay match than the Okan match for him. And again, I thought Shota looked really good. They had a lot of really good counters and reversals in this match, especially towards the end there where Umino was trying to hit the Death Rider and eventually Finlay kind of spinned around and got him into the Trash Panda. I thought that was pretty cool.
I do think that this was a very important match. You've got 2 guys that are sort of in transition and on an upward trajectory. Mm-hmm. And so there's definitely some unsettledness with the fans as to the future of New Japan and kind of waiting to see what happens with these guys. So I thought this match was fine. I thought it was good, not great. I'd go like 3.5 on it. I'm not sold personally on either one just yet. Still, I do think that they both still have a lot to prove, but I thought that this was a good base for a future match down the road. I imagine if David Finlay is going to continue with Bullet Club for the long haul and Shota Umino is going to be a Hantai guy, we're going to see other clashes between these 2 guys, whether it be in tags or even singles. So I did think they have good chemistry, though.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, the one thing throughout this tournament is David Finlay's ability that's kind of secured him the victory is even through adversity, he's been able to find creative ways to set up and land that Trash Panda, sometimes almost out of nowhere, mm-hmm. to pick up wins. And I wasn't sure how you felt about that, Jeremy, because I'm a little torn. Like, on the one hand, he's definitely, he's definitely using it almost in a counter manner, similar to like what Sonata's trying to do, but it's has a little bit more ingenuity in the way he's doing it, which is nice. Sometimes when he lands it, though, because I don't feel like it's really been established as a killer finisher up to now, it's a little anticlimactic. I'm like expecting people to kick out, and they're not going to. Mm-hmm. The other thing too is I don't know if I buy it as a strong finisher because it's almost just kind of like a semi-souped up Ushigoroshi. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, kind of mixed feelings because again, this is a move he was doing as Bayface, part of Hantai, and he didn't always win with it. Or like you mentioned, people will kick out. It wasn't a super protected, strong finisher. But on the other hand, I do like the kind of creative ways that he's getting into it, which I guess you can say is kind of making the move stronger that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm liking it so far. If he came with a new finisher, I wouldn't mind, but I think this is kind of a good transition in the meantime.
Yeah, I just wonder if you have him create a new finisher, does that negate the fact that they just instituted a new finisher for Sonata? Who are, both guys just recently joined new groups, have new makeovers, everything, yada, yada, yada. It might be too much to also give them both new finishers. So I don't know if I'm a huge fan of changing David Finlay's finish, although I guess they could if they wanted. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I'm fully bought in on the Trash Panda as the finisher just yet. I do like, though, one thing he started to do, he's starting to pull down the knee pad, and he has an X mark under the knee pad.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's a nice touch.
Yeah, he's also been doing this cool-looking Dominator move as like one of his new signatures.
Bro, it's like a sit-out dominator on the side. I like that better than Trash Panda.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Some wrestlers do that, man. Sometimes they'll have like a really cool signature move that's not, the finish, and I'm always like, why not? You
right.
know, I don't know if you recall, like Shawn Michaels back in the day, like the super kick was not his finish.
Right, the teardrop suplex.
Yeah, it was the teardrop. The Saito suplex was his real finish.
Yeah.
And then they were like, why don't you just start kicking people? I mean, I already am. I guess I could just turn that into the finisher. I think that's also what happened with back in Ishii used to hit the brainbuster as just like a one of his signature moves, and then he's like, I'll just start finishing people with it.
Well, his brainbuster is dope, so I'm good with that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, Finley gets the big win here, advances into the semifinals, beating Umino here. So then the other quarterfinal match, we had the never openweight champion Tama Tonga defeating one half of the IWGP Tag Team Champions Hiroki Goto, 16 minutes and 38 seconds.
I really liked this match. I liked it quite a bit more than the semi-main event. It went against my booking, which was I think I booked Goto to potentially beat Tama Tonga to maybe establish him as a potential challenger. I know that during the preview, both you and Chris had mentioned, was that really viable considering he's also the current tag champion? And, that made sense. And I think that you guys proved to be correct in that manner. But this was a match where going into it, Goto had beat Tama Tonga 7 times in all their previous encounters and had never lost to Tama Tonga. So, Tama had a lot to kind of like live up to, but he came in as the defending never champion and, kind of held his position. I thought that they had a lot of great fire. This felt a little bit more sprinty than some of the other matches in the tournament at 16 minutes plus. For a main event, I thought it was a really good pace, a really good match. And they, at the end where they were just kind of both busting out of each other's finishers and then, a lot of back and forth reversals until finally Tama Tonga hit the gun stun on Goto. I thought the match was really great. I was glad to kind of see this more fiery side of Tama Tonga that we did get last year, but he spent the early part of the year and the latter part of last year, engaged in this thing with Carl Anderson. So we didn't really get to see too much of this side of Tama Tonga. So it was nice to kind of get more of like what really got him over last year in the first place in this match. And Tama Tonga beats him clean. 1, 2, 3, moves on. And I was pretty satisfied. I thought it was a good main event.
Yeah, I thought this was a great, never style sprint matchup. Like these guys it was very hard hitting, a lot of great strike exchanges, but also kind of that fast pace. Tama Tonga, another kind of great, counter wrestler or kind of evasion wrestler. He has those kind of great misdirection off the rope run. So a lot of great stuff there. And these guys laid it in. It was a 16-minute match, hard hitting. Tama Tonga's been doing great setting up the gun stun and creating all these counters where it's you think he's gonna hit the gun stun, he's almost all the way down. The other guy stops him at the last second and catches him, and so they did a lot of really great reversals like that. But eventually he was able to hit the gun stun and get the win on Goto, which would move him into the semifinals.
Nice. So as I mentioned before, we end up with our 4 finalists going into New Japan Cup Night 11 on March 19th. The show opened up with a tag team match. Oscar Luebe and Shota Umino, they defeated the TMDK team of Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. 11 minutes and 5 seconds. As you probably guessed, Zack did take the fall to Oscar Luebe, so Oscar beat him with a bear hug. I think Shota Umino beat Kosei Fujita with his STF. Second match of the night, Bullet Club team of Chase Owens, El Phantasmo, and Kenta. They defeated the Chaos team of Tomohiro Ishii, Toriano, and Ryohei Oiwa. Third match of the night, House of Torture team all four members defeated the Strong Style trio along with Ryuzuki Taguchi. After the match, there was, and actually they defeated them via, this was the match where they defeated them via disqualification, right?
No, that was the previous night.
Oh, okay.
If
But
Kenta was in the match.
gotcha. Okay.
Wait,
but
hold on, I think I'm mixing the matches up now. Because no, Kenta, it was when they were facing, Strong Style was facing the Bullet Club with Kenta and Chase and ELP.
Well, I think we should probably make note. There was one evening, one of these two nights, I think it was the previous night, where Kenta attacked Suzuki with a chair and got disqualified. And they're making it very clear that Suzuki is going to be challenging next for the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship, which, you know, Suzuki's coming back to America. Go figure. After that fourth match of the night, we had the United Empire team of Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher. They defeated Tomoaki Hanma and Yoshihashi. Fifth match of the night, the United Empire team of Aaron Hanari and Great-O-Khan defeated the LIJ team of Bushi and Shingo Takagi. And then the sixth match of the night, the LIJ team of Hiromu Takahashi and Tetsuya Naito defeated the Chaos team of Leo Rush and Yo. And that brings us to the final two matches in the semifinal round of the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, so first we had the Rebel David Finlay defeating the Never Openweight champion Tama Tonga, 18 minutes and 47 seconds.
This was very good. A lot of great athleticism and, a very high work rate from both guys. And I think aside from the opening match that David Finlay had with Ishii, which was really blow away, this was probably the best showing that David Finlay had in the tournament. And I think that this is probably Tama Tonga's best showing in the tournament as well. So great match for both guys who have recently undergone, relatively speaking, a pretty big elevation in their standings within the company. Gaijin versus Gaijin. So David Finlay did beat Tama Tonga pretty emphatically, hit him with the Trash Panda, 1, 2, 3, which is really saying something because Tama Tonga is a guy who, there's a lot of symbolism there. The fact that he is an original member of the Bullet Club, a guy that recently warred with the Bullet Club just last year and had recently also defeated the former deposed leader of the Bullet Club in Jay White, as well as fellow OG of the Bullet Club, Carl Anderson. So Tama Tonga is a guy who is not, at all unfamiliar with fighting Bullet Club or dealing with their tactics. So the fact that they had David Finlay go in there, take it to him, and beat him clean, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, really does say something. And unfortunately, Tama Tonga, his quest to win the New Japan Cup was brought to a halt. This was his best showing in the tournament ever. But David Finlay does pick up the win and moves on to the finals of the tournament. One thing I did notice, though, I don't know if you caught wind of this, Jeremy, like at the end of the match, when David Finlay's sort of, when they're doing the whole bit with him and Gato in the middle of the ring and Gato's, doing his whole shtick, the camera kind of cut to Tama and he just sort of hightailed it out of there. Like,
yeah, we did. We had a question.
I think he might have been pissed.
We had a question here from UD Dojo. It says, where does Tama Tonga go from here? After losing, he rolled out the ring and headed to the back. He had a train to catch. He didn't sell the finish at all.
Yeah, normally these guys get an ice pack and kind of crouch down and sell their injury. Like, he didn't do that at all. He just grabbed his belt and kind of walked off. And I was like, damn. Like, bro, he might have, who knows? He might have thought for some reason that he was winning this tournament. I don't know.
Got to the arena like, yeah, Finley's going up. What? Yeah, but I really enjoyed the matchup here. I thought, yes, two of these guys, one of their best matches in the tournament. Great chemistry. Like you mentioned, there was that whole Bullet Club kind of underlying story there with Tama being a former member and Finlay now kind of taking the reins of the club now. So again, really good back and forth counters between these guys towards the end of the matchup. You had Finlay hitting a stunner for a near fall, followed up with a spear. Tama eventually got the sharpshooter near the 15-minute call. Finley got the ropes. You had more back and forth there. Finley hitting that dominator that we talked about. And Tama hit the Bloody Sunday, which is a Bullet Club leader move originally from Prince Devitt. And then that all led to Finley blocking the gun stun and hitting the Trash Panda to get the win. And again, another story element, you had Gato versus Jado here. We know that their history and them breaking up, and so obviously Jado was in Tama's corner while Gato was in Dave Finley's corner, so you had both of those guys kind of cheering their guy on throughout the match as well.
Well, to kind of answer part of that question that was asked earlier, where does Tama go from here? There's quite a few events coming up, and so with him being the never openweight champion, there's plenty of opportunity between now and, say, Ryogoku for them to establish another challenger, or even maybe establish it at Sakura Genesis. Who knows? Plus, not to mention the U.S. show. So there's a lot there. But if they don't opt to do any of that, and if hypothetically David Finley is unsuccessful in his quest to win the title, he did get a clean win over the current reigning never openweight champion, which hypothetically could entitle him to maybe turning around a month or two from now and saying like, hey, I want your belt. So that's always a possibility. I'm not saying it's a likelihood, but it is possible.
Yeah. We also had a question from OK890. Do you think Finley fighting clean makes him too likable? Or has he done a good enough job being brutal and mean enough to still be booed?
I think he's doing a really good job using rough tactics, and he is cheating. I mean, he is like not like overtly, like it's not like William Regal-esque, but I mean
he's gouging the eyes, he's fish hooking, pulling the hair, pulling the nose.
He's jaw jacking with the ref. He's using underhanded tactics. He's pulling a tight on a pinfall here or there. He's doing all, and then a lot of like off color outside, sort of rough tactics as well. So there's no mistaking that he's a heel in these encounters, and it's not necessarily the things that he's doing aren't necessarily likable, if that makes sense.
Right, and he's telling the fans that they're number one, shooting them the double birds.
He's acting like he's one of the outsiders from the women's division in AEW.
And he's not too sweeting fans. He's like, yeah, you're not good enough for my too sweet. I'm not going to too sweet you. So definitely kind of leaning against the whole, the cool Bullet Club of wanting to too sweet everybody.
Yeah. So now do I think that I think there was a brutality that was on display against Tomohiro Ishii, and for whatever reason, it hasn't necessarily been dialed in or on display the same way it was in these other subsequent tournament matches. And I would like to see more of that, because as good of a talent as David Finley is, and there's no denying that he is very talented, and I think a lot of the makeover, the new shape he's got himself into, this new attitude, it's all working. It's great. But I don't know if I still believe just yet in him as being the quote unquote leader, top guy, whatever you want to call it, the de facto guy in Bullet Club, or even really a champion, like an IWGP level champion in New Japan. I don't see that yet. The only time that I kind of changed my tune on that was in the Tomohiro Ishii match. And that might just be because Tomohiro Ishii is the guy that you could put anybody in there with, and he will make, I mean, goddamn, like, bro, there was a moment where he was wrestling Moose a couple years ago in LA, and I was like, this Moose guy, he's got it. Let's put him in there with Okada. He's got it. But that is kind of a trick. You put someone that you want to get over in there with Ishii, and like, we're gonna find out what they have. But I would like to see more of that version of David Finley in these matches to kind of buy into him a little bit more than I am currently.
Yeah, I still feel like he's been aggressive in the other matches. Maybe it's not as
he has, yes,
not as hard hitting as the Ishii match, but I think his style has totally changed. You can watch a babyface Finley match versus a now heel Bullet Club Finley match. You can see a stark difference. He's definitely more aggressive, more hard hitting. He's doing different move sets than he was doing before. So I definitely think, that's been helping. Obviously, the Ishii match I think was the kind of the top notch, like the perfect, like something you don't want every match. But I still feel like the Tama Tonga and some of the other matches were still pretty hard hitting, pretty aggressive, and kind of helped get this new character over.
Couple last things. I really have liked a lot of the verbalization. I know I'm not usually big on people talking while in the ring too much, but every now and again, some of the comments that Finley is making are kind of popping me a bit and helping me to kind of like dig in more on this new character. Plus, some of the promo work he's doing is really helping as well.
Yeah.
I thought that having ELP on commentary for this match was pretty interesting because we sort of got a little bit more of an understanding of where he's coming from a character perspective and what the sort of the dynamics between him and Finley are and what the beef between them is and everything like that. And at the end of the match, David Finley kind of came over to the commentary booth and sort of had a come to Jesus moment with ELP and was like, I told you to fall in line. I told you needed to listen to what I was saying. And here I am going to the finals. And here you are out of the tournament. And I don't know when you're going to learn that my ways work. And he was like, and basically ELP had to like swallow his pride. And he's like, if you win it for the club. Come on, baby, let's go all the way. And like, he's very disingenuous, but like, what can you say when the guy is in the finals and you're on the commentary booth? You
got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, you got beat by Naito with the bad knees. Like, there's nothing else you can say.
Yeah, and even him, he was like, I don't like it, but I can't say much. He's like, I got eliminated. He's going into the finals, so I don't like it, but maybe I do need to listen to him.
Yeah, so there we go, David Finley. One last thing, I want to point this out, and I think that this is going to fit into the discourse of our preview for the finals. David Finley very rarely was main eventing on these nights. He was most of the night semi-main event, even as the leader of Bullet Club, or whatever you want to call it. I know it's not official, but he kind of is. Mm-hmm. And he was usually on the smaller towns versus, he didn't headline the Korakuen shows. And I don't know if that tells you anything. I think it is something to read into a little bit here. Even on this night where you have the finals, you get Sonata and Mark Davis. And it's not Mark Davis who's pushing that. As great as he is, like, he's an unknown commodity as it pertains to singles matches. Mm-hmm. Mark Davis wasn't the reason that they were in the main event. I think it's interesting that we're not seeing a lot of David Finley in the main event in these matches. And to me, that's a key indicator of who's winning this tournament. And I think that tells you everything you need to know about who's probably going forward.
Yeah, you would think with Davis being in there that they would have, pushed Finley, Tama as the main event. Tam was a champion.
I could have easily seen that being the main event. Yeah. I'm surprised it wasn't.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, Tam was a champion. There's history there, the whole Bullet Club stuff. They could have really built that up and made the main. But yeah, they went with Sonata versus Mark Davis. Well, you can't say on the one hand, well, if Ospreay was there, it would have been Sonata Ospreay, and you could have seen it as the main event. But it was Mark Davis who were saying, he's a tag guy, not established, like kind of a weird spot to be in.
Yeah. So we get the main event match here. Sonata coming down to the ring with his new stablemates, Doki, Taichi, Takamichinoku, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. He defeats Mark Davis of Aussie Open along with his stablemates from the United Empire. 13 minutes and 20 seconds. And before we talk about the match, Sonata coming down with clean-shaven face, no more blonde or bleached hair, completely jet black. Handsome Sonata has finally returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yes, he came out in the skull gear, the Cole skull gear with the mask and the coat and everything. And so it kind of looks like this, regular LIJ Sonata. And then he pulls the mask off. Like you mentioned, yeah, clean shaven. The beard's gone. Back to the natural black hair, looking like, it's, TNA, Seiya Sonata out here. And, just 5 guys, they show their new hand signal. They all put their thumbs in the middle. And, yeah, they're now just 5 guys.
Now, here's one thing that I hope this man rectifies, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And I've been saying this for a long time, but on this tour, it just became unbearably egregious. Sonata has been wearing the same ring gear for years on end. Like, I feel like he debuted this ring gear during the G1 when he was facing off against Ibushi in the finals.
Yeah.
That's like 2 or 3 G1s back. And you know what? I don't even know if that's when he debuted it. It could have even been further back, but I definitely remember him wearing it as late as that. This ring gear is so worn that I don't know if you've noticed, he's got like the pleather pants with like the gold lines on it. And then on the sides, he's got like a sort of a felt or, it's a fuzzy fabric that used to have designs on it. The designs got so worn that he peeled them off on this tour so that he just had the fuzzy part. And if you really looked closely, you could still see, like, have you ever had that with clothes, like where you had a logo and you peel it off and like it's still kind of there, but it's like the same color as the shirt?
The outline is kind of there, yeah.
That's what he was wearing on this tour. And then the gold lines that he had on his pants were just like, if you paid attention, they were all faded. But the problem is his mask and his jacket, which are raw as fuck, are the same design as his pants. So he can't change the pants or he has to change everything else. I don't know why, but this man is so frugal when it comes to his ring gear. Like when, he has to make more money than Bushi, I would have to gather. And like Bushi's buying new gear every fucking show.
Bushi has a new mask like every...
Yeah, bro. You know how much a mask is? Bro, masks are expensive, like really expensive. And not only does he buy a new mask, he buys one new mask and then a ring entrance mask, and he never wears it again. Like, he's spending
mad money,
of thousands of dollars on ring gear. And then this man, Sonata, hasn't bought new gear in years. So I know that he looks good. I know he's got the all black hair, and which is kind of cool because he did that in solidarity with the other Just 4 guys. I don't know if you noticed, all of them, since they joined this new stable, all got rid of their bleach. Like Take's got bleach, he got rid of it. Obviously, Taichi very notably got rid of it, all of them. And now Sonata's another one of them. And now he's clean shaved. Bro, that shave is a difference maker. He went from looking like an actual Jag to being like, all right, let's fucking belt up this man. He's a world champion. This is a world champion, but he needs new gear. It's not enough to just shave your face and dye your hair. He's got to get new gear.
I think he needs whole new gear, new tights, new ring entrance. I think he needs to get new music. Yeah. Totally abandon everything LIJ and just get a whole fresh makeover.
Now the match, one simple word, Jeremy. Banger. Bro, this was one of the best recent memory sub 15-minute matches for singles matches, New Japan, that I can think of. I really, really, really liked this match. I thought both of these guys went out there and worked their asses off. And like Sonata, I know Sonata, like, I'm a little nervous, Jeremy, because I started to get this feeling. Who's his biggest influence in professional wrestling as far as training and mentoring goes?
Isn't it Muto?
Uh-huh. Isn't Muto the guy that, like, didn't really try that hard until the moment really called for it, and then he would go out there and work hard, but any other time he didn't really work hard? I wonder if that's where Sonata's been getting this.
It all makes sense now.
It's all starting to make, and then it's like, oh, you're gonna give me a world title shot? All right. Now he's clean. Now he cares about his presentation. He didn't care about his presentation, when he's wrestling, whoever the fuck, Manabu Soya, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wrestling Manabu Soya. He doesn't give a fuck, but you're gonna put me in the finals of the New Japan Cup. All right.
I'll shave the beard.
I'll shave the beard. Oh man, yeah. So, but the work was really great. I definitely think Sonata was motivated, but you can't undersell the pace and the style and the push of Mark Davis. Bro, Mark Davis, you know who he reminds me of? I know that they're like out there and they're trying to get over the Brody and the Hansen, or mostly the Stan Hansen illusions and everything like that, yada yada. And they're like talk about these big men that he wrestles. Like, I can only think of one big man in the last 25 years that reminds me of Mark Davis in any way. Can you guess who it is?
No, I'm blanking.
He reminds me of Samoa Joe, bro.
Oh, that is a great comparison.
The way he wrestles with the violence and the velocity and everything like that, and being a hoss, but then also mixing in the high spot athleticism that you're not used to seeing from guys his size. Mine reminds me a lot of Joe. I mean, I guess you could probably throw Kenta Kobashi in there, but I don't know if his style reminds me of that, but he reminds me of Joe.
Yeah, now you say, that's a great shout right there. And yeah, Mark Davis, he was not going to let this be a bad match. We talked about in the previous match with Evil, like, he's making the most of this opportunity, and he was going to make sure that Sonata worked hard. And Mark Davis worked super hard in this match. And again, that big suicide dive, kind of similar to Samoa Joe, but he just crashed into Sonata, into the guardrail. He crumpled Sonata with that suicide dive, and man, he was just super aggressive in this match. I loved it.
There was only one bad part of the match when Mark Davis went to the top rope to do
that
splash. Think it was supposed to be a splash. and like ELP was on the rope or on the call, and ELP was, and like they have a lot of history together going back to, they like lived together in England, and he was like, what's Mark doing? He never goes to the top rope. I've never seen this man go to the top rope. And like, bro, his crash landing was about as bad as my crash landing. Bro, I'm so scared of the top rope. You have no idea. Yeah. And it looked exactly like that. Like, but what was smart about it was he crash lands and falls on the ground. And then that sets up an opportunity for Sonata to go up and try to land the Muda moonsault. And instead, he gets a whole stomach full of knees, courtesy of Mark Davis. It almost feels like that might have been a bit of a bait and switch. And even if it wasn't, it came off that way. It was kind of nice. Yeah,
he got the knees up and was able to get a quick little roll up there off of that there. But then after that was the great spot. So Sonata does the O'Connor roll, gets a near fall. Then Davis does this thing where he pulls Sonata up by his legs and then catches him and pile drives him. That was dope.
Have you noticed that that's one of, he did that in almost every big match. That's one of his like major single spots.
Yeah, he hits that big powder, but the way he did it here was a little bit different though. He just like how he snatched his legs and like threw him up and then caught him down. I was like, that was raw.
Yeah, that's what he does. And it was really great there. And then not only did he land it, and the sell job from Sonata was really great, but like having Kyle Fletcher on the outside be like, cover him, Mark, cover him. And like when he went to cover, I was like, damn, like I know it's not his finish, but like it looked like that could be it.
If that was it, I would have been fine. Cause like
I would have been fine too.
He killed Sonata with that thing. And then
this is how good Mark Davis has been in this tournament. He went from being a guy that at the very beginning we're like, we thought he was losing
to Yano.
Toru Yano. To start the tournament, not because we don't like or believe in Mark Davis, we just thought he was slotted in that big tag specialist.
In that Dayboy Smith Jr. role.
Does a job to Yano in the first round of the tournament. There's a history of that. We just thought that was what was going to happen here. And by the end of it, we're like, yeah, if he beat Seiya Sonata to go to the finals of the New Japan Cup, I'd be fine.
Yeah, and then he goes after that pile driver near fall. He picks up Sonata and goes for the water slide slam, which obviously it got a great near fall there because he hit that on Evil, and so the fans are kind of buying into that. So he had him for the water slide and was spinning around, but then Sonata was able to spin out and hit his Blade Runner DDT thing and get the win.
Yes. And that kind of the interesting thing there is that like Mark Davis was kind of owning Sonata for like the whole final stanza of the match.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally out of nowhere, Sonata picks up the win.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, bro, that's a Jay White finish.
Yeah.
Like he's even though Jay White never fought Mark Davis or, in New Japan on a major stage that we know of, the way that Sonata's laying out his finish, I'm wondering if like Ghetto or somebody was helping lay out like Jay White's finish, or I don't know who it is, but I'm wondering if whoever was helping Jay White is helping Sonata and telling him to do the same stuff, or if Sonata's just like, let me just jack your shit.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to the Fed?
You're going to the Fed? All right, I got you. I'll just do the same stuff. It worked for him. Now it's my time.
Oh man.
We all think David Finlay is replacing Jay White. Nah,
it's Sonata. Switchblade Sonata. What's his new nickname? I'm no longer the Cold Skull. I'm the Switchblade. Wait, what?
What?
So yeah, post match, Finlay and Gato come out.
Breathe with Sonata.
Breathe with the guys. But yeah, Finlay and Gato come out to the ring, and Finlay goes nose to nose with Sonata. Gato gets on the mic. He says, "See you next time, just 5 losers," and walks off. So we got our final setup now with the Rebel David Finlay versus Sonata of now just 5 guys. Ton of questions here about this match. First, from friend of the show, Dan Coffin. He says, "How much was Mark Davis's stock risen since he got the spotlight due to Will's injury? Will Aussie Open be the ones to dethrone Bishamon? Are you joining the Dunkzilla bandwagon with me? Hashtag Dump Truck Gang."
Well, I mean, we've always liked Mark Davis, so that's nothing new. And as far as how much his stock has risen, I mean, this tournament has done nothing but pay out dividends for both Mark Davis as well as Kyle Fletcher, but more recently Mark Davis, just because the spot that he was put in. And like I said earlier, I think that the run that they've gone on and the credibility that's been lent to them can't do anything but basically like elevate their argument to be the ones to beat Bishamon at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But like, at the same time, like down the road, if they want to go singles with one or both of these guys, do I think that they have both done enough to show that they're trustworthy, that they can be trusted in that spot and be used or utilized in that spot? Absolutely. I think that that's there. They've done that, and this was a huge test, and they passed. But in the more immediate future, I don't see that happening tomorrow or a month from now, or maybe even a year from now necessarily. But since they're going back to tags, this has done nothing but benefit them, benefit their group, and really probably elevate them quite a bit with the New Japan fan base moving forward.
Yeah, like you mentioned, we've been fans of Aussie Open and Mark Davis, Dunkzilla for a while. Aussie Open attendees of the Social Suplex Suplex Mania watch party in New York that we had.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything. I was like, but we hung out with these guys. They're really nice. Like, they trained with Chris Bryan, who is a member of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Like, we've met them. They're lovely people. Yeah,
we had the pre-United Empire at the watch party with Aussie Open and Will Ospreay there. But yeah, I thought this tournament has done great work for Mark Davis. I think it's really heated up Aussie Open for a tag team title match. We have the final card for the final, so it's not happening there. My guess is we're going to see Aussie Open versus Bishamon at Sakura Genesis on April 8th. And so I think that, these guys, they're, hitting all cylinders again. They're fired up. They've got momentum. I think now is the time to build up Aussie Open, get these boys a contract before TK comes in and swipes him away.
Welcome to BreezeLine, where you'll say, "Ta-ta, T-Mobile," because we've got more reliable home internet that's a whole lot faster. In fact, 10 times faster. No, seriously, because we have real internet backed by our fiber-powered network. And T-Mobile, well, they just have a 5G cellular network. So act now to get superior home internet. Find your perfect speed with prices starting at just $19.99 a month for 24 months. Terms and conditions apply. Go to breezeline.com to learn more.
Lowe's knows how to get your lawn ready for spring. And right now, you can get up to $20 off select Scott's Triple Action Fertilizer. Plus, get a Cobalt 40-volt 15-inch string trimmer or leaf blower. Your choice, $149, only at Lowe's. Get set for spring. Visit us in-store or online today, because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 3/9 through 3/22. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift the Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Ooh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Next question here from Rambo and Slam Pig. He says, I was already pretty invested in Aussie Open, but this tournament has really done a great job of getting each member over as an individual. Is Mark Davis's improbable run the biggest surprise of the tournament? I think most thought of Fletcher as the more likely single star.
Yeah, one thing I will say is I've never, for any measure of time, doubted the abilities of Mark Davis. I think when we've had discussions in the past, even on this show, about the upside of a singles run for either guy, when we've kind of gone to bat for Kyle Fletcher, it's more based off of different things, like the age is probably, and the looks is probably the biggest differential between the two guys, where Mark Davis is a little bit older, maybe doesn't have what, some people would consider classically, although he's not like an ugly man or anything, but like, from a marketability standpoint, people like the clean cut look of like a Kyle Fletcher versus like the more rugged Mark Davis. Mm-hmm. But as far as the in between the ring goes, like both guys are immensely talented. So, I mean, that's never been up for question or doubted on this show anyways. But speaking of like surprises, yeah, I would say, as surprising as the things that have gone on as it pertains to Sonata as well as David Finlay go, the biggest surprise of the tournament is Mark Davis, and not just because he was great, which he always is, but the way he was able to go out there and go further in the tournament than was expected. Some of that was unfortunate happenstance, but even still, he got 3 really good looks in the tournament and delivered every single night. Like, I'm at the point right now, like, it depends on what happens for the rest of March, but like Mark Davis is very much in contention for being wrestler of the month.
Yeah.
For Keepin It Strong Style this month.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you get a blessing in disguise with injuries. Of course, we never want anybody to get hurt or be injured or wish injury on anybody. But anytime there is an injury in wrestling, that always opens up a door for somebody else to come through and be elevated and get a chance to shine. That's what we got here with Ospreay going out with a shoulder injury and Mark Davis coming in taking his spot. Obviously, this wasn't planned. But again, we got these you mentioned these great moments and these great matches and standout moments here for Mark Davis and kind of showing what he's made of. So definitely, wasn't a planned surprise, but a definitely welcome surprise that made the tournament more interesting. And as far as, Fletcher, obviously Fletcher's great too. And I think, both guys could be stars, but also I think the money with them is as a tag team. Next question with a Heavenly Halberd. He says, why do you think New Japan decided to go with this big Sonata push now after previous attempts fizzled out?
Jay White's gone. Yeah. That's one reason. Suzuki-gun is broken up. That's another reason. There's a whole faction that has needed a marketable frontman. That's one reason. And I guess I'm going to give away my spoiler right now. I think Sonata's winning the tournament, and I think Sonata's beating Kazuchika Okada at Sumo Hall for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. That's a reason.
Yeah, I mean, that makes all sense. And yeah, I guess kind of diving into it, I mean, the finals are in Sonata's hometown. And New Japan, they're not WWE. They don't do the typical, we beat you in the hometown. Most of the time, guys are winning in their hometown. I mean, they have beaten people in their hometown before, but normally the hometown guy wins. And then plus, going up against Okada, like we mentioned, we've seen this before in 2019 where he came so close to beating Okada a couple times and lose. And so I don't think you want to retread that story. So if Sonata is winning, I think he does have to beat Okada because it's kind of boring and predictable if you just run back the same thing they did in 2019.
Yeah, bro. I think that they're going to gear up just 5 guys as like, I don't want to oversell it and say they're going to be the next big thing in the company. I'm not saying that, but they are all domestic stars.
Mm-hmm.
There has been this thing for so many years, especially with this show, where we're like, Sonata, when are you guys gonna shit or get off the pot with the guy?
Mm-hmm.
When is it gonna be his time? It's now or never. Well, now it actually really does feel like now or really literally never.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is it. I think this is his time. I think they heated him up, and I think they're going to go with him. Also, who knows? Maybe he signed a contract. That's always been like a sticking point with the company and him, and the fact that he's like a freelance. Like, if he signed, then there's every likelihood in the world. I mean, bro, look at the guy. Like, I'm not the biggest Sonata fan in the world. I mean, a lot of it comes down to what I describe as being laziness and lack of motivation. And, but it's never been ability. It's never been talent. It's never been good looks or marketability. We've said many times before, like, when this guy isn't wrestling and you see him in other avenues, he looks like a star. I don't know why that's not translating. And then suddenly he comes out on this night and you're like, holy fuck, he is a star. What has this guy been doing this whole time? And I'm like, maybe it's just Mutoism. I don't know. But I think they're putting the title on him. And I'm convinced of it, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. I think that anyone who thinks that David Finlay is winning this tournament, I think you're going to be sorely mistaken.
And you mentioned contract, which made me think about Kota Ibushi. Ibushi's gone. So another top guy. That's gone. So you need another top domestic star.
I knew there was someone else. I was trying to think of who it was, but like Jay White's gone, Ibushi's gone.
Yep.
People have been asking us for a long while now, who fills these spots? Well, I think they're telling you right now.
Mm-hmm. Next question here from Stale Burger Bun: have just 5 guys become your favorite faction yet?
When weren't they my favorite faction?
Dude, I think I like them less now with Sonata. I was down with them when it was just 4 guys. I liked all 4 of those guys. Now Sonata's here.
I like better without Sonata too.
Now Sonata's here. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this.
You know who the real ones are? The real Just 4 Guy fans are the ones who are like, why the fuck isn't it Taichi?
Exactly. Yes.
Those of us who are like, justice for Taichi, those are the real Just 4 Guy fans. That's us. I'm sort of seeing this. I'm like, maybe they're putting Sonata in place so Taichi can turn on it.
Boot him out. We were always just 4 guys. Oh man. Next question from Dr. Larry at the Dark. So out of Finlay and Sonata, who have both rebranded, who feels like they have gone further? Because Sonata's become a prima donna heel and Finlay is Diet Jay White. Also, Sonata is the one guy who shaved and is a glow up.
I don't know. Well, hold on. Sonata is the one guy who shaved and it is glow. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. For most people, they say that the beard is like makeup for men.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what. I don't look good with a beard.
I think you gotta let it grow out.
Bro, you lived with didn't we live together when I let it grow out?
But you didn't let it go all the way. I think you jumped too early.
I let it grow a good amount. It's just you have to understand, I'm Native American, okay?
Mm.
It's not gonna get any fuller than it already is. Like this what I have is what God has given me. It's not much. So yeah, he's right. But I don't know if I think he's a prima donna heel. I think he's a baby face, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, there was no, heel split with LIJ. It wasn't like he hit Naito with a chair or hit Shingo and Hiromu or, turn his back in the middle of a tag match. It was a decision like, hey, I know I can't go further in LIJ, so I'm leaving and doing my own thing. He's not like, I'm sure these guys will have matches, but it's not like a blood feud that we're going to see between 5 guys in LIJ.
I also wouldn't say that Finlay is Diet Jay White. I think his look is good. I think his gear is good. I think that the new presentation is working really well. Mm-hmm. I think that he almost always fell so fucking flat when it came time for him to grab a mic and talk. He just did not. There was something missing, and dare I say, he just didn't have it. Well, whatever it was he was missing, he's got it now. This guy can talk, and that's a huge asset to New Japan. And make no mistakes about it, Jay White could talk too, but do you think I'm kind of crazy in thinking that Jay's promo abilities are kind of overblown a little bit by some segments of the fandom?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it on the show before. It's just one of those situations where it's like it's a Japanese promotion, so when you have the one Westerner that's talking a lot, you're like, oh, wow, he's amazing at promos. And don't get me wrong, I do think Jay is really good at promos, but I do think, it was kind of elevated because obviously he's one of the only people that we can understand what they're saying.
I don't even know if it's the fact that he's the only, foreigner talking in a Japanese company. I just think that the style of promo in New Japan isn't necessarily expected to be delivered the way a Western promo is, so he can get away with the long form promo, the rambling sort of, painting a picture. But David Finlay, he's more in line with what I would call right now, the kind of promos he's delivering are more in line with your classic Western good promos. He's basically going out there being I'm from the greatest wrestling family known to man. I'm the greatest wrestler alive today. This is my destiny. I'm going to prove it to the world. Blah, blah, blah. Talk about how his dad couldn't lace up his own boots because his dad wasn't a world champion. He doesn't have shit to do with him. That stuff's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm digging the Finlay. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like Finlay is short, sweet, and to the point and gets it over.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Whereas Jay White would have tendencies to go Bray Wyatt-ish, where he just starts rambling and you're like, bro, what are you talking about? 20 minutes goes by and what is the point? Who are you facing? Why are you upset? Just tell me why you're upset. I don't need 20 minutes of your lore.
Bro, you summed it up better. That's what I was trying to get to. Is the conciseness and the precision of his promo while being sharp, biting, and to the point. He's very good. I don't know. I think that both of these guys, with their new presentations, it's gonna take a little bit of time for people to come around on them. But I'll tell you what. I mean, I know they've both been here longer and have more experience, but I'm much higher on them right now than I am on Shota Umino.
Yeah.
I see more upside with both of them than him right now. And Ren Narita.
Yeah. For me, Finlay kind of reminds me of Authority Seth Rollins right now.
Don't say that. That's not good. Yeah, I was watching this with my girlfriend though, and fucking Dave Finlay comes out, and I was like, oh yeah, he's the leader of the Bullet Club, and she's like, like, you know,
This guy.
But then she looked, she's like, wait a second, when did he get hot? And I was like, nothing changed. He just has dark hair. Like, that is all.
And
that
a blonde
changed.
streak.
Yeah, and a silver streak. She's like, I don't know, he looks hot now. And I was like, you did the same thing when Evil turned heel. Like, what is it? Is it just like you like dudes with dark hair, or you just like heels? Like, and then I started thinking about myself, and I was like, am I a heel? Is this why she likes me? Is it because I have dark hair? I don't know. But apparently David Finlay's hot now. Which he wasn't before, I guess, when he had the light hair.
Next question from UD Dojo. How high is New Look Sonata's ceiling?
Well, I just told you, I think he's going to win the title.
Yeah.
I might be wrong here, but I very rarely ever say, I think they're going with someone to win the belt. And the last time that I can ever remember them where like that there was a New Japan Cup where I was like, they're going to win the title was fucking Okada.
Yeah. Which will look like a no-brainer.
It's like a no-brainer. Yeah. I think that this is a no-brainer because like I guess we're here. But like if Finlay wins the tournament, which he could, I don't think he should win the title. I just don't see. I mean, they could go that way, but like it just now it feels like we are rehashing Bullet Club being back on top in a very short period of time. Like Okada just got the belt in January, so I don't know if I would, want them to go back to a Bullet Club narrative so soon.
Yeah,
and I don't know if David Finlay is ready as a character to carry the title, carry the company, carry the strap, all that sort of stuff.
Well, I think another thing to think about too is Wrestling Dontaku is like the Bullet Club anniversary
in May.
So you have Sonata win the tournament. He beats Okada for the belt, and then you could run it back, Finlay and Sonata at Dontaku in the main event for the title. Yeah,
depending on what happens in the match. If something happens in the match that would warrant a rematch, for sure. But like, I think with Sonata getting the new look and everything, I just think he's going to win the tournament. And I feel like if you're going to have him win the tournament, he shouldn't lose another match for the title to Okada. Otherwise, now I will tell you this, if he wins the tournament and he turns around, and I don't care how fucking good the match is, I don't care if they have an 8-star match, Jeremy, you mark my words, that is booking malpractice, and Gato has lost his mind. They should not have Sonata. And I know there's probably some people listening thinking, like, I don't want Sonata to be champion. And I'm like, I hear you. I get those concerns.
I feel you.
I feel you. But Sonata should not be winning the New Japan Cup and then losing to Okada. Because if that happens, we have wasted our whole entire month. We have wasted our time. Time is a flat circle. There's no purpose to this.
Yeah.
And Sonata is a fucking loser, and he needs to go home. Like, be done. Send him to All Japan. Let him go wrestle Miyahara. We're done. That's it. Yeah. It's over. Kaput.
If they're going to do that, they should have just replayed the 2019 New Japan Cup this month and given us a month off.
No, what they need to do is on the night, on the big screen, just put the finals between him and Okada, and then just leave it.
We're not gonna even show you we're gonna stream in the 2019 match.
Thank you for buying tickets to Sumo Hall. Here is your main event.
Look at the screen.
You know what's funny is, like, I didn't think of any of this stuff that we're saying. Like, this is all off the dome. Like, we're always, like, just riffing. Like, it's so fucking funny.
Hilarious.
But, yeah, like, if that happens, what is the point? What is the point of any of this at all?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot convince me that if Sonata wins and then faces Okada and then loses, that there's any sort of he'll get his shot down the road, or they're just warming him up, or no, it's done.
He's Goto. He's Goto if he loses.
He's Goto. He's Goto. Like, he's worse than Goto.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, they can't do that. And if they do, like, I don't know, man. Some of that energy that people were bringing to us a few months ago about the, Osprey Omega outcome needs to be applied here,
Yeah.
because that's real booking malpractice. That's, that would be horrible. So, come on, this is not Pro Wrestling Noah. This is New Japan Pro Wrestling. We can't be having those kinds of booking decisions going on in this company. So, it's kind of, I guess there's a few different things you could be hoping for. If you're a Bullet Club fan or you're an Okada fan, you hope for Finlay to win. But if you're, someone that's optimistic and likes LIJ or likes Sonata or likes, just Five Guys or whatever, then you probably want Sonata to win. But my God, if they have Sonata win the tournament and then drop another title challenge, I swear to God, that would be that'd be on the short list of things that booking decisions that they've ever made that would make me really question the validity of what we're doing with this podcast and our fans. I swear to God.
Oh man.
Because, bro, can you imagine? Like, why? Bro, I'll be out. I'm not even.
It'd be a waste of time. Like, if you're gonna redo the whole 2019 thing, why have him leave LIJ? Why give him a push? Like, let's have it be same old Sonata. But you went out of your way to make him shave the beard.
Shave his beard. It's his comfort beard.
Get rid of the dye. Like, go back to the natural look. You have this man looking like $1 million. Like, now is the time. If you're gonna go through all this hassle, giving him the push, giving him his own stable, then go all the way with him.
Let me put it to you this way, Jeremy. Okay, it's not a perfect comparison, but it's enough of a good comparison as it pertains to me. I'm not a Roman Reigns fan. It is what it is. I'm not a big fan of watching him wrestle, whatever.
You don't acknowledge the tribal chief?
I do. I acknowledge him. But when he wrestled Brock Lesnar for the second time in the main event of WrestleMania in New Orleans, that was literally the event that made me stop pretty much all of us, yeah. But, like, that was the event that, like, and there was a lot of things that happened on that show that really pissed me off and angered me, especially how shitty that match between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura was. Like, we went to New Orleans. We didn't go to WrestleMania, but we went to New Orleans and we were holed up in a Airbnb with a bunch of our pals, and we were so stoked for that event. But the thing that really turned me off and made me be like, I don't think I should watch this show anymore, was when they let Brock Lesnar bust Roman Reigns to the white meat with his bare elbows and give him CTE concussions and let him bleed out like a stuffed pig and then
beat him,
lose the fucking match.
They beat him.
And they beat him, and he's the ace of the company. And this is something they would have never in a million years done to Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock or Bruno Sammartino or Bret Hart or you name it. They had never mistreated a top guy in that company like that ever before. And sure, they rehabbed him. Let's see how many years it took. But, like, at that time, I was like, dude, I don't even like this guy, but the way this booking, I can't handle this. This is bad.
Yeah, that was what, 2018?
17?
Yeah, 2017, 2018. Yeah, it was 2018 WrestleMania weekend. And now it's, 2022, 2023. Like, he's finally rehabbed now. But yeah, that was a really bad booking decision. It really made your top baby face look bad. And
it made the company look bad.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people forgot about it, but I've never forgotten about it. I'm not saying Sonata's Roman Reigns, but it does apply in the sense that I'm not really a Sonata fan. The same way I wasn't really a Roman Reigns fan. But there are times where you know what the right call is. And if he wins the tournament, now if he doesn't win the tournament, this whole rant's for nothing. Just forget about it. Move on. But if he wins the tournament and he's in Sumo Hall against Okada, he better not fucking lose. Because if he does lose, I'm not going to be angry with Okada. I'm not going to be angry with Sonata. I'm going to be looking at Geto. I'm going to be looking at
Dick
Bushi
Togo.
Road.
Kikuchi,
and Dick Togo, and the associate, and I'll be wondering what the fuck is going on and what are we doing it for? What is this for? Like,
maybe Kota Ibushi had a point. Maybe Carl Fredericks had a point.
Yeah, we might we might have to turn this into Keeping It Triangle Style once the Ibushi what's his
Ibushi Institute.
Yeah, the Ibushi Institute opens up. We might have to start following that instead. The real strong style.
Oh my gosh. Okay, 890 asked a few questions here. Do you think Taichi is going to take the backseat to Sonata for just Sakura Genesis, or has he been permanently moved to number 2 guy spot again?
I mean, who's hotter?
Well, I think it has to be Sonata.
It's a very simple question. This is a fan service promotion. They like to push hot guys. That's what this is. You know, I was asked by a friend of the show just this past week, and they're like, "Why the fuck can't Taichi be the guy? Why is it got to be Sonata?" And I was like, "People want to fuck Sonata. That's why. Like, he's hot. That's why."
Also asked, do you think Sonata's spot in LIJ will be filled, or will LIJ be a man down for the foreseeable future?
Well, there is some valuable heavyweight real estate there now that there's no Evil and that there's no Sonata. If you did want to bring in like a younger developing talent, you know, I don't know who that might be, but let's say, for instance, Tsuji. You bring Tsuji back in, I think he could fit into that group very well and be, you know, like a powerhouse sort of guy that eats pinfalls and is developing, kind of like how Evil was for years.
Right, and we know Tsuji loves Lucha Libre, and he got to go to Mexico for a little bit. He really wants to do that style, so that would kind of fit into that Los Ingobernables, kind of Pareja kind of style.
Yeah, and now it's a little different because Shingo came in and kind of usurped. You know, he kind of jacked those two dudes their spot and took over. And he even for a minute there was taking some of the thunder away from Naito. Yeah. You don't got to worry about that anymore. You know, you bring in a Tsuji or somebody else and like they're going to fall right in line. So I think that there is some space there.
You know what was a straw that broke the camel's back for Sonata?
What?
Was Teton.
How do you figure? Teton
came in, he's like, nah, I've had enough of this. A guy is coming here trying to be more flashy than me, getting over faster than me. I'm done. I can't have this.
Yeah, that was the one thing. He was like, at least I'm still the flashy guy. He's like, you know, Bushi's the mask guy. Hiromu's like the wild junior. You know, Shingo is the powerhouse, you know, strong style guy. Naito's the star, but I'm the Flash. And then they brought in Teton. He's like, damn it.
And like we didn't even like have a group discussion. Like we just kind of let him in like randomly at the end of a show. Like
you guys didn't even ask me. They're like, you said yes. I was put on the spot. Everyone else said yes. What was I gonna do? Say no?
I would look dumb if I didn't put my fist up.
You guys put your fist up. I had to put my fist up too, otherwise I'd look like an idiot.
Oh man. Okay. 890's last question here. Do you think the New Japan Cup being unpredictable in the early rounds made the later rounds too predictable?
Not for me. It's been hard for me to predict this whole fucking tournament.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that were really just kind of up in the air, and especially like Will Ospreay's injury, and you had Mark Davis coming in there, and then it looked like they were potentially going to Sonata Evil, and so there was a lot of questions. We didn't know Sonata was going to leave LIJ and get this push, so it was kind of hard to say, like, oh, Sonata's definitely going to be in the finals. Like, Finley, I think we all kind of guessed because of the whole kicking Jay out and joining Bullet Club. But then with Sonata, we had no idea until, you know, he turned that, all right, now this makes sense that he's going to the finals.
Well, I feel like we did a good job. We were circling around the idea. We didn't land on it, but we were like, it feels like this side or this part of the bracket's going to be about Sonata. We just didn't know the context, you know? We didn't procrastinate. I always say that word wrong. We did not get it right.
Yeah. So let's move on now and talk about the final show. I know we've talked about the main event already, but we have the full card for night 12, March 21st, the final night of the tournament. So show open up with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Yuto Nakashima versus Doki and Taichi of Just 5 Guys. We'll have Oiwa and Umino versus TMDK's Kosei Vegeta and Zack Sabre Jr. Tama Tonga, Tomioka Hanma, and Tomohiro Ishii will take on Bullet Club's Chase Owens, El Phantasmo, and Kenta. House of Torture, Dick Togo, Io Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi will take on Strong Style, Desperado, and Ren Narita, along with Taguchi and Toru Yano. We'll have the LIJ team of Shingo and Naito taking on the United Empire team of Aaron Hanare and Great Okan. So they're setting up that KO-PW feud there between Shingo and Aaron Hanare. Then we'll have the Chaos team of Hiroki Goto, Kazuchika Okada, and Yoshihashi taking on United Empire's Jeff Cobb and Aussie Open. So it seems like they're going to set up the Aussie Open Bishamon feud with that matchup there.
Well, before we get to these, the top two matches, because I think we want to discuss those. Great job on the rundown here, Jeremy. There's a couple things that we should probably touch base on. So just kind of looking, these first 6 matches, this is pretty much like a big preview show. A lot of multi-man tags on the undercard here. So it's kind of similar to like a C or a B minus level like pay-per-view show for New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely getting a lot of previews here. I think it is interesting that we got Tanahashi teaming with a Lion in the opening match against Doki and Taichi. That's not usually where you would see a Tanahashi slotted on a show like this.
Yeah, that's almost like a dad role there.
Yeah, I'm wondering what will come out of that. If there's something that's going to move forward with him and Taichi, since they're kind of slotted against each other. Very interesting. Second match of the night, obviously, Umino is on the opposite side of Zack Sabre Jr., so I think we're probably going to get the official announcement and preview for a future TV title match between those two for sure.
Yeah, for probably Secure Genesis.
Are we wondering for the third match of the night, since we have the never openweight champion Tama Tonga there, are any of these individuals here, in line for a potential never title shot? And is it interesting that Kenta is in this match and he's not opposite Strong Style on the next match? Because we do know that he has an ongoing feud with Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah, that is a little bit weird. Suzuki's not even on this card, it looks like, so I don't know what the deal is there.
But probably, then if he's not on the card, he'll probably, I guess we're just kind of fantasy booking here, but I don't think it would be outlandish to think that he maybe makes his way out to the ring post-match and
attacks
makes
Kenta.
The official challenge.
Yeah. Well, the match is already official. It's booked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So maybe he attacks Kenta to do another angle. But yeah, as far as potential never challengers, Tama's already beaten ELP, so I don't think they would go back there. Kenta is a strong openweight champion, has this program with Suzuki, so that would leave Chase Owens as the only really potential guy to be the challenger.
Unless something happens with him and, say, like Ishii or something like that, being partners. Of course, there's always the option that post-match an outside challenge pops up that we're not really thinking of. That's always possible, too.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And then you brought up the thing with Aaron Hanare and Shingo. Are you aware that they already set the stipulation for that match and everything? Did you see that on the undercard?
I remember Hanare cut a promo saying what he wanted, but I didn't know if it was the official IWGP officials made it official.
So he cut a promo on Shingo basically saying that because I beat you the last 2 times, I want a shot and I want to set the stipulation. And Shingo said yes. And later on the broadcast, they said that Hanare went to Twitter and made it official that his stipulation is going to be a bare knuckle Muay Thai street fight knockout only. So essentially, I think it's just a street
last
fight.
Man standing.
Yeah, well, no, it's only knockout. So I don't know if it's going to be like last man standing rules where they do the counts.
Mm-hmm.
I could also see where it's just like the person's out and they like check their hand and they're just fucking out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to be a big fan of that because I don't know if I've loved Shingo in these other non-wrestling stipulations.
Yeah, let's stick with the pro wrestling for Shingo.
I definitely like that stipulation, although I don't know why. What the fuck is a Muay Thai street fight? I say Muay Thai. I've never seen a Muay Thai street fight. Like, what the fuck is that?
It's gonna be like Sagat in Street Fighter.
I think it's like when we thought a filthy rules fight was going to be like a blood sport match, and it's like, nah, we're going to bring out ladders and chairs. So apparently that's happening. And then, yeah, the sixth match of the night, they seem to be previewing Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis as being the next challengers for the Bishamon's title. So we got, even though it is a preview show, there's a lot of good stuff that's probably being built up for Sakura Genesis. And I think we're seeing that card kind of get formulated on the undercard here, which is good.
Yeah, that's in Sumo Hall. That's going to be a big show. You want to have some big matches on that card, so I definitely understand why they're saving the tag title match, the TV title match, the Never title match for Sakura Genesis.
I think that upgrades this show basically because we're seeing how many matches are going to have implications moving forward. This probably elevates it to more of like a B-level show.
Yeah.
But the semi-main event here, we've got Hiromu Takahashi defending his IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against the challenger, Lio Rush of Chaos. There was a press conference. Was that today?
Yeah, the press conference was today.
I watched it today between the two of them, as well as the finalists for the New Japan Cup, Sonata and David Finlay. What are we thinking about this match and this feud and everything moving forward?
Yeah, this feud's been pretty interesting so far. They've done a lot of work on the undercard of these New Japan Cup shows, and been some really good interactions between Lio Rush and Hiromu in the ring. The press conference was a little bit weird. I don't know. I feel like Lio Rush is cutting very like WWE style promos in these press conferences, which I guess is fine, but I don't know, the dynamic there, some of the stuff he was saying was kind of a little bit off.
Here's the problem, Jeremy. You weren't clued in on how to watch these press conferences like a pro such as myself, okay? This is why it's coming off weird to you. They're not putting the English commentary or captions or even translations live for the press conference anymore. They used to do that.
Yeah.
And they got away from it. So you're able to hear what he's saying, but you can't hear what Hiromu's saying. But I clued you in off the air, but moving forward, this is what I've been doing. I go to NJPW1972.com, I go to the news, and they actually have the captions in a little article. So if you pull up the article, I know this is a lot of work and you shouldn't have to do this to watch a fucking press conference, but this is what you got to do. You throw on your gimmick, you throw on the press conference, you pull up your comments, and then you line them up at the same time. You listen and you read, and you listen and you're like, okay, I know what's happening. And once that happens, it brings a whole new life to the press conference. And so I did listen to it, and I understand what was going on. Basically, Hiromu, and this was a story they've been telling on the undercard, which, by the way, every night the undercard, the main event of the quote-unquote undercard for all these New Japan Cup shows all tour have basically been an LIJ versus Chaos match, tag team, featuring Hiromu and Lio Rush on opposite sides. And every single time these guys have been opposite one another, they've had really fantastic interactions and has made me pretty optimistic about what we're going to see here for this match. But the big story has been Lio Rush's speed and Hiromu's inability to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And Hiromu brought this up during the press conference where he was like, I knew how fast Lio was, and that caused me to commit before I went on this tour to a diet so I could shore up my speed and keep up with him. But the problem is, after the first night I was in the ring with him, he was so fast, I started getting stressed out. I started eating my feelings. He's like, and unfortunately, I've actually gained weight on this tour. So this is going to be a match where I know I won't be able to keep up with him in speed. So I'm going to have to utilize my power to take him out of his element. And that's been the dynamic. You have Lio Rush, super fast, super precise. And then you have crazy man Hiromu with the power advantage. And that's the dynamics that are going on between them.
Then he called Lio Rush a Komodo dragon.
he's been doing that on the posts. I haven't watched any of them, but I gathered that he's been calling him a Komodo dragon all throughout the post-match comments every night, which I don't really know why. That feels quasi-racist for some weird reason. Like, I don't know. But Komodo dragons are like one of the most. Have you ever like seen them hunt animals? Like, they're fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
It actually is kind of a raw nickname. I don't know if it fits Leo Rush or not, but like, Komodo dragon has like one of the strongest bites and like one of the most poisonous bites of any animal in the animal kingdom. And like, they'll bite something, poison it, and then just wait till it dies. And then even before it dies, they'll actually start swallowing it while it's like still quasi like
dying,
dying and alive and shit. They're kind of disgusting creatures. So yeah, I don't know what the deal is there, but they had a lot of heat because Hiromu loves Leo Rush's suit. Leo Rush thinks that Hiromu's a buffoon, and he is.
Yeah, he's like, why is your suit so ridiculous?
Yeah, and he was like, why is your suit so fly? So, but to add a little bit more intrigue to the match, commentary, Kevin Kelly's been doing a great job, and he was like, the last time there was a U.S. champion that held the title was Loki in like 2011. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, over 10 years since an American, and you kind of don't think about it because obviously we've had foreigners, but Prince Devitt, Irish, Kenny Omega, Canadian, Dragon Lee, Mexican. Like you don't really think like, oh wow,
fuck all those countries. It's about the United States, USA, USA.
So Leo Rush has a chance. Yeah, first guy in over 10 years, first American to become IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, and at the same time, Hiromu's on a quest to set the all-time junior defense record, which I think is like 12 defenses.
He said he wants 50 this year.
50, okay.
That's what he wants to do, 50 in a year.
And the other thing too is like Leo Rush. One thing I did like about the press conference was it almost had like an MMA boxing sort of fight feel where he was like, "You've never faced a challenge like me in your entire career. Like you're great, but I'm the greatest, and I'm going to show you why I'm so great." And I was like, "That's good. I like that." And they're going to have a great match. I feel pretty confident Hiromu is going to retain, just because I do think that I think he's going to go into the Best Super Juniors as champion, and I kind of get the feeling that I know that like maybe I'm buying into something that wasn't even explicitly booked out or like promised to us, but I do think that like the one thing that Hiromu has left to do is have a very substantial title run and kind of set a record, and they haven't done that with him. And I feel like that's what needs to happen next. Although it is the junior title, and if Leo Rush, a guy who I think that the company's high on, if they want to strap him up and kind of give him a push and kind of solidify their relationship with him, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Yeah, I think it would be a very fresh booking decision that opens the doors for a lot of possibilities. If you do Leo Rush as champion, a lot of fresh matchups, I think just be more intriguing. But I do think the safe bet would be to go with Hiromu Takahashi. And like you mentioned, for a lot of the modern guys, you look at Okada, he's breaking records as a heavyweight. He's kind of the ace right now. So if Hiromu, he's the ace of the junior division. He has the multiple reigns. He has the multiple super junior wins. But yeah, I think to sort of really cement his legacy as one of the top juniors of this era, you want to give him this long title reign where he's breaking the defense record. So I can see them easily going with Hiromu, but I do think the more fun option would be to go with the man of the hour, Leo Rush. Which then
what's your official prediction?
My official prediction, I'm going to go with Hiromu Takahashi getting the win in a very back and forth competitive match.
I got Hiromu as well. And I think it'll be interesting to see where they go with Leo Rush in the fallout. And I'd sort of expect another challenger to come out and challenge Hiromu once this match is over.
Yeah, because Kurt Jansen is right around the corner, so I'm sure you'll want to book a junior match for that. So
Mm-hmm.
So then the main event of this show, like we've been talking about, the finals of the 2023 New Japan Cup, Sonata versus David Finlay. I think we've kind of talked a lot about the match and the scenarios. So I guess from the final prediction here.
I got Sonata. The one thing I will say as far as the in-ring goes, the only thing that's ever caused me pause as it pertains to these two guys being the finalists is like, I think we saw it, and week after week we're like, it could be Sonata Finlay.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that neither of them have really truly been tip-top headline guys that the company time and time again goes with, that they would be trusted to be put in a big headlining spot on a night like this seemed a little bit far-fetched, and maybe like we were getting too deep in the weeds as it comes to like fantasy booking, but here we are, and they're doing it, and both guys have been given makeovers, and they're giving them every opportunity. And for a company that is always kind of pigeonholed as being same old, and too slow to move on people and to pull the gun on pushes, they're really investing and going full-fledged with both guys and giving them a real opportunity. So this could either be a great match or it could really be a flat match, because both guys have a propensity to do either one of those two things. And I'm hoping that magic strikes here and they come in fully focused with their game faces on. I'm sure they will, and knock it out of the park. But I think tomorrow morning is Sonata's morning.
Yeah, and I just want to lay out a case for David Finlay, even though I'm pretty much going with Sonata now. For Finlay,
why did you feel this way before you talked to me?
Honestly, I didn't know. I was kind of very stuck in the middle. Like I was kind of seeing cases for both guys, but. Mm-hmm. More when I think about it, like you mentioned, the main events and the clean shape and just all the styles with Sonata does seem a little bit stronger than Finlay. But
Sonata is a more proven long-term commodity
than
Finlay, even if recently he hasn't been utilized in that way during like the G1s in the past. He's been a guy that they've like gone with and headline shows with and used in that manner.
Yeah. But there's two things that kind of were making me think about Finlay. One thing he mentioned in the press conference today, he made it a fact to put over that he won all his matches clean, which makes me think he's going to try shenanigans in this match because he's set expectations up that he's been winning clean, trash panda, no interference, no shenanigans. I think we're going to see some kind of interference or shenanigans in this matchup because of that fact. And then also, the second thing, it is in Sonata's hometown. So if you want to get heat for Finlay, you go the WWE route and you have David Finlay beat this man in his hometown and get all the heat in the world, beating Sonata in his hometown and moving on to face Okada after that.
I mean, yes. I think that that's very plausible. And even though I'm convinced that Sonata is going to win and move on to win the title, which I might look like a total fool just within 24 hours from now, or even less when I'm watching the show tomorrow. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that David Finlay could win. I'm not bought in that if David wins, he turns around and wins the title a la Evil. I don't see that personally. I could be wrong. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you weren't ready to pull the trigger on Sonata and you didn't want to put him in a losing situation, I think the guy that could potentially handle an Okada loss better and get over and be more established as a top player, top star on that stage, David Finlay is your guy that you would want to go with. And I think there is a valid argument for it. I just think the company, to me, has shown so much more faith in Sonata on all these shows, putting him in headlining spots, putting him on the bigger shows and everything, that tells me. And then the big makeover at the end, I think they're going with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with Sonata here as my prediction. Yeah, I think it's time that, they go with him, gets a couple win, and then goes on to face Okada.
Here's the other thing too, is like, okay, maybe hypothetically, maybe they have a long-term story in play for Bullet Club, right?
Mhm.
We've heard that a million times before. But to me, this whole thing with ELP and David Finlay, I think it's stronger if David fails.
Mhm, yeah, because an ELP is like, oh, why do I need to listen to you? Like, you failed also.
Yeah, because if David won the tournament and won the gold, then he's kind of got, an ace in the hole over ELP, and he's probably going to get the alignment from the other members, especially like Liber Lucci and
Caveman Ugg.
Caveman Ugg, the really important members of Bullet Club. I always bring up Liber Lucci because no one knows who he is. It's just funny. I actually like Liber Lucci, but I think if he fails, then there's more animosity, and then the question is, who is the real leader, is a lot more up for debate.
Right, yeah. And there's a more intriguing story there, yeah.
It's not to say you couldn't you could still do that story later on. I mean, but it's got more impact to be done now if he fails, which is what I think is happening. I could be wrong, but that's where I think it's heading.
Several questions here. First from Rambone Slam Pigs. I'm going to take a victory lap for predicting the finals of the New Japan Cup this year. With that said, I am happy to see some character progression and shakeup, but not really overly thrilled at the matchup from an in-ring work rate perspective. How do you guys feel? And I think we just touched on that a little bit, and I don't know. I'm not confident that these guys are going to go out there and have this blowaway matchup. I mean, I hope they do. Like you were saying, I hope, that the magic happens on this night. Both guys realize the opportunity they have. And I do hope it's a great, in-ring work rate matchup, and it's a notebook match and a match of the month contender, even a match of the year contender. But I'm not fully confident in that. And I do think this whole tournament has been really about, stories and getting people over, and not really about great matches. So I could see this match end up being a more character play, like I was saying, more interference from both factions, and really getting over these new characters than these guys going out here and trying to have a 5-star match.
Most of Sonata's really top-end matches, which to me, there are a lot less than people would imagine based off of his reputation, because the thing about him is he is a top-notch worker, but only to a certain level. Once you start getting into that classic match type territory, it's few and far between as it pertains to Sonata. Most of his great matches are going to be ones that like either Okada or Kenny Omega or Kota Ibushi or Tomohiro Ishii guided him through. And we're talking about 4 or 5 of the greatest talents in the history of the business. There's never been a time where you put him in there with, like, say, another good worker, but maybe not like an all-time great, like let's say a Juice Robinson or a Jay White or something like that, where they had like a stellar match. That just never happens with Sonata. So, if he does go in there with David Finlay, and David Finlay has really improved and really risen his stock over the past couple of years, especially since last G1. I'm not saying they can't have a blowaway match. It's just history would tell us, based on Sonata's track record, that it's not likely to be a top end match. It might be a very good match, but not top end. Then again, if they're motivated enough and it's laid out well, you never know. This is really a big mystery bag of a match. I don't know what to expect, because both guys are moving into new phases of their career, and it's sort of they're in different trajectories, and we don't know what to expect here. And that's kind of the intrigue, which is kind of cool, because it's not just all about the match quality, but I don't want to sacrifice the match quality for stories. We can have both.
Right, yeah. The best case scenario is we get the Sonata from the Taichi match versus the Finley from the Ishii match. That's the best case scenario there.
That's a great scenario.
If that happens, we're gonna have a great matchup.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Death Triangle 720 asks, how do you guys feel about the final participants, and who do you think needs the win more?
That's the tough thing. I think they both kind of do need the win.
Right.
I am wondering about if David Finlay loses, do I think it could potentially hurt what's going on with him and Bullet Club? A little bit, I think it could, but I think that he can rebound from it and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially since there's probably a hot program with him and ELP down the pipeline, that gives me optimism to think they've got something planned for him,
Mm-hmm.
But I think if Sonata eats the loss, then just 5 guys is really just 5 guys.
Jazz.
Even if he's like the top 5 guy, he's not a top guy. He's just the top guy in just
a
5
guy.
guys.
Yeah, I think, Sonata has kind of been in this position before, so I think he needs it more than Finlay, a little bit more than Finlay. Whereas Finlay, this is kind of a new territory for Finlay, and like you said, I think Finlay can easily be rehabbed as they continue this new character push. But yeah, I think Sonata really needs it here. Next question, he says, do you think now is the time to have Okada lose the belt with his recent character development?
I didn't think it was, but since I think they're going with Sonata, I think it's the time for him to probably drop the belt, and I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think you could still have Okada being this kind of grumpy final boss without the belt, and losing the belt could piss him off even more than he already is right now. Let's Commission 7252, is Sonata even hotter than he was when he first got into the company? In the unspoken words of Kevin Kelly, OMG, he's hot. Please stop.
I don't know. This is a good looking guy. He when he first got in the company, like, he was smoldering. So I don't know. It's
not to be confused with the just good looking guys in Pro Wrestling Noah.
What are they called?
Aren't they like just good looking guys?
They're the GLG, good looking guys.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a just.
Okay.
I heard that the blonde wrestler that I like from
Tadasuke,
he's one of the GLGs.
Oh, he left. Well, then he was in Congo, wasn't he?
Yeah, fuck Congo. He's GLG for life.
His next question, what do you guys think about this year's semifinals and final competitors? A new turning point for Sonata and David Finlay. David being the unpredicted man heading so far into the tournament, and Tama getting his shine as a main eventer.
I think that there's a lot there. We've been discussing this for several weeks now, so I don't want to wax poetic for too long. Plus, we're pushing up against time. But
yeah,
if this wasn't going to be a tournament that had nothing but bangers and blow-away matches, these surprises and fresh turns of events and new pushes have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been really happy with how the tournament's turned out so far, and there's some really different scenarios. Also asked, are you guys happy with how New Japan changed up this year's finals by pushing a guy that they're already building up as a main eventer in David Finlay and a guy that they're rebuilding as a main eventer in Sonata?
Yes.
Yeah. Hawaiian Punch BV, it looks like Sunday was a good night for a couple of just good-looking guys. Do you think Sonata can actually win New Japan Cup this time around? Do you think Kiyomiya losing his title to someone who recently made their Noah debut freed him up to get his ass whooped again by Okada in Dominion? With Jake Lee seemingly still having dreams of competing in NJPW, do you think he'd be able to complete the trifecta?
Oh, great question. Yes, I think Sonata's winning the title. The Kiyomiya thing, I don't know. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Him dropping the title, does that mean he's going to come back and fight Okada? I don't know. Who knows what the fuck goes on with Noah?
Right, but I mean, if Okada drops a belt to Sonata, then you could have Kiyomiya come in. He beats Okada, non-title, no.
I don't think he's beating Okada. Like, maybe, I don't know.
I'm just saying, it's more likely with Okada not as champion.
Also, let me just tell you one thing. Jake Lee should not be the GHC champion. And Jake Lee will never win the IWGP title.
And The Rock means never.
And the young boy means never.
Oh man, yeah, Jake Lee.
Tell you, bro, like when we went out to karaoke a few nights ago, and like James was there, and there was a few songs where like they were saying like yeah, and like so just to pop James, I was like yeah.
Let me talk to him. Yeah.
Nobody else knew why I was doing it because it was all non-wrestling fans. James just shaking his head laughing. It's hilarious.
Oh man. So let's move on to the news.
All right. So AEW and New Japan Global will join forces once again to present Forbidden Door 2 live on pay-per-view at the Scotia Bank Arena in Toronto, Ontario on Sunday, June 25th. It's not called Forbidden Door 2, but I'm calling it Forbidden Door 2. New Japan Pro Wrestling has officially announced this year's Best of the Super Juniors. The promotion revealed on Friday's show from Cork and Hall that the tournament will run from May 12th to May 28th. An intense schedule will see 12 events over 16 days. Fuck us, right? As of right now, Mercedes Moné has no dates left with Bushiroad after the April 23rd Yokohama Arena show. Unless that changes, logic would say she'll be dropping the IWGP title to Maya Iwatani at that show. Okay, what's the point of putting the belt on her? She's going to drop in her first defense. That's cool.
No, well, she's going to face Azumi as a Kira Genesis first. And,
AMZ, yes.
Yeah, AMZ.
Yeah. 3 matches have been made official for Capital Collision. Juice Robinson versus Fred Rosser. Team Rocky, Rocky Romero, Tomohiro Ishii, the DKC, Leo Rush, and Clark Connors. Taking on Team Volador, Volador Jr., Speedball, Mike Bailey, Gabe Kidd, Kevin Knight, and Kushida. And this past week, it was announced the Great Muta is going into the WWE Hall of Fame. One last thing that's not here, but Jeremy, did you see that good friend of the show, Rocky Romero, lost an Espuetas match against Volador Jr., and he did get his head shaved.
I did not see that, but I did notice Rocky was kind of growing the hair out, so now we know why.
Well, he's not growing it out anymore.
Well, yeah,
I guess he's gonna have to restart because he got his head shaved in Arena Mexico. Lost the due. So yeah,
nice. I'll have to check that out.
Let's kick it over to the questions.
Yeah, so MJ's PR says, what grade would you give Gato's booking this year? Highlights and lowlights.
I'd say a B. I think there's been some pretty exciting things that have happened. I don't know if I want to go with highlights and lowlights, but there's been some stuff that's been kind of questionable. What the fuck's going on with the U.S. title, for instance.
Yeah.
A couple other things.
Yeah, I agree. I go with B because I feel like towards the end of last year, kind of coming into this year, it felt like we got like a fresh breath of fresh air in the booking room. They're doing some different changes. We're seeing some new guys come in, some guys come back from excursion. And so I think overall things are going good right now. But like you're mentioning, there are some things like, what's going on with the U.S. program? What's going on with, these young Lions? Like, why aren't they getting pushed?
How long does Shingo need to hold the KOPW title? Like, can we get that shit off him? Like, what's going on?
Right. What's going on with all the LA Dojo guys? Like, what's going on with Filthy Tom and all those? Like, there's a lot of question marks, but overall, things are still going good.
Women? No, I'm just joking.
Death Triangle 720. Where do you think Kenny versus Cobb will happen?
Unfortunately, it sounds like it's going to be happening at Forbidden Door, but I was hoping it would have happened way before that.
Well, I mean, they could. I mean, I don't know what Kenny's doing April 8th. You could do it at Sakura Genesis. You could do it at Dontaku. There's shows at Dominion.
But they've made it sound like it was going to happen in the States. And,
That's true, yeah. Cobb said he's going to come to Omega.
Right. And it's like, well, are they going to do it on Dynamite? Doesn't seem like it,
Unless they could. Or they could do it at Double or Nothing, which then builds to the June pay-per-view.
They could.
Yep. Death Triangle 720. I think we kind of answered this. How do you feel about the booking decisions of New Japan so far in 2023?
I applaud them for some of the fresh new ideas that they're going with, which are things we've been asking for a long time, at the very least.
Yeah, I think it's very good. I don't think it's fully great yet. Next question from Ethnic Dystopian. Have you noticed that the legacy has become a stronger theme in New Japan canon? Umino has a few mentors to his name and is covered in other people's gimmicks. Zack is mentoring Fujita. Narita is the son of Strong Style. ELP still calls Shingo daddy. And Finley continues to mention his lineage. Why now, and what do you think it means?
I think this has always been a thing with New Japan. I think there are quite a few things that you've pointed out that are happening simultaneously all at one time. So maybe you do have a point here, but I don't know. This is a company that since we've been covering it, we've always mentioned how they stick to kayfabe and they keep long running storylines within the company and even outside of the company's kayfabe carried over from other groups. So I don't think that this is new at all. I think this has kind of been the MO for as long as Ghetto's been in charge of the booking for a decade plus.
Yeah, I think they're trying to use established acts or established legacies to get new people over.
I do think the thing with Fujita is very unique, though.
Yeah, that's because obviously he's not like quote unquote like copying Zack. I mean, Zack is teaching him, but I feel like it's this, what we've been hearing about the accelerated Young Lion process.
We've just they've never really had an established no-gay dojo Young Lion join a faction and get mentored like that. So, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Next question here from Grunty Dodds. I came across Aaron Hinare's men's influencer focused social media this week and saw that he's an advocate for the benefits of semen retention. If he was to issue a company-wide abstinence challenge with the KOPW on the line, who would win and who would be out first?
Oh my God. So who would be out first if they couldn't nut? Probably Taguchi. Yujiro? I don't think it's Yujiro. I think
it's
Taguchi
Tokyo
nuts.
Pimp.
Yeah, but that's a gimmick. Like, that's a name. But he doesn't have, bro, he doesn't have Riz, bro. Like, come on. It's either, for me, like, the two dudes who are, gonna for sure not abstain whatsoever. It's either gonna be Okan or Taguchi.
Oh, definitely Okan. Yeah, dude, yeah.
Yeah, but Taguchi's a perv, bro.
That's true. But
it's a tough one.
But if you drop Okan in Vegas, it's all over.
As far as people who would win, my money is on Tenzan. And I based it off this one point. I didn't even read these questions ahead of time, but remember that time when he was teaming with God, what's that dude? Who's that dude who runs the pancakes?
Sammy Callahan.
From me?
Yeah, Sammy Callahan.
Yeah, remember when he teamed with Sammy? Or no, he teamed against Sammy Callahan.
Right, it was Tenkoji versus Death Juice.
Yeah, Death Juice. Yeah, and at the time, Sammy Callahan had a gimmick where he was kissing everybody on the lips, and Tenzan was really into it, and not because he's into dudes, but he was like, he's like, my wife doesn't kiss me at all. He's like, this was really great, the human contact.
Yeah, wasn't he he's kissing?
He's like, I liked it a lot.
Didn't he say he wanted to kiss Kojima or something like that, or was Kojima jealous? I forget.
It was just really funny. So I'm like, if this dude's not getting kissed, there's no way I think he can hold out. Especially with the title on the line. One last legacy run for good old Tenzan.
That KOPW.
Yeah.
PP McShitter asks, are there any heel/face turns you want to see in New Japan within the next year?
No. I mean, I'm sure there are. I appreciate the question, but I just, let them come as they may. I don't know. I'm not sitting here fantasy booking for anybody.
You don't got a notebook out, mapping out the year who you want to see turn.
I saw a question online on the New Japan Reddit was something like, what would you need to book for the next monster title run? Something like, I'm guessing Okada-esque. And I was like, I'm not answering this. I'm not engaging with this because this is we're all going to be wrong. And I have no idea. I'm not a booker.
Yeah. Let's see.
Also, why is your name PP McShitter?
Yeah, interesting.
Why?
Okay, 890 says, what went wrong with Shota versus Naito? Both guys have recently had great matches, but just didn't click with each other. Do they just have bad chemistry?
I feel like we've discussed this match ad nauseum so many times. I don't know if I need to relitigate Shota versus Naito.
Yeah, I think we've kind of already laid it out in previous episodes, and I kind of mentioned the match layout, the crowd dynamic, Naito's effort. There's a lot of different reasons why that didn't work out. Next question here from Hawaiian Punch BV says, with Ricky Reyes retiring, what was your favorite Black Tiger Mask moment from him? Do you think that it's weird that NJPW and AJPW both debuted a new Black Tiger Mask and went nowhere with them?
I think the new Black Tiger Mask in All Japan was Rocky, was it not?
Wasn't? I thought Rocky wasn't he Black Tiger in New Japan?
He was, and I think he was Black Tiger. I think they had a one-off Black Tiger that showed up in All Japan to face off against Tiger Mask when he was junior champion. I think it was Rocky Romero. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. As far as Ricky Reyes retiring, what was my favorite Black Tiger Mask moment from him? Nothing.
You didn't like the Rocky Romero feud?
Bro, it never went to, it didn't, nothing happened like at all. The matches, no, I didn't like it at all. Have you ever seen that video where they're asking, it's like a Memphis like Q&A, and they're asking Macho Man, they're like, what? Or actually, he's at a news station. He's at some sort of talk show, and it's in Memphis, and they're like, so how much of wrestling is real, or how much of it is fake?
Oh yeah.
Like nothing. And then they're like, really? And he's like, 0. That's how I feel about Ricky Reyes as Black Tiger during the New Japan Strong years. Like, there was nothing about it that I liked.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. He said, thoughts on Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3? And also, did you also check out the fight between the two violence gods in Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev?
Fiziev. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so here's the deal. I watched the first round and the first 4 minutes of the second round of the Gaethje Fiziev fight. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I know that he's been working his way up the ranks. I'd actually never seen him until that night, and he's real. But yeah, I need to catch both of those fights. I went to the movies.
It's all Cocaine Bear, right?
No, Cocaine Bear was mid, bro. No, what did I watch? I saw something this past weekend. I saw Inside with Willem Dafoe, and it was all right. I prefer Bo Burnham Inside on Netflix. But yeah, as far my thoughts on Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman, though, I didn't see the fight, but I'd been telling people for a little while that I didn't know how much more Kamaru Usman really had because of all the well documented and known ailments that his body has been dealing with after all the years of hard wrestling. So I just knew it was kind of a matter of time. I don't want to take anything away from Leon Edwards whatsoever. I need to see the fight, but talking to friends of mine that are very big fight fans and very knowledgeable, it sounded like Leon Edwards was the better fighter and sort of had Kamaru Usman figured out. Did you see any of these fights, Jeremy?
I didn't, but I heard Ryan Frederick on Observer talking to Dave and Brian about it.
Let me make something very clear. I think that Dave Meltzer is a fucking idiot when it comes to MMA. I love him when it comes to wrestling. One of my favorite guys. I listen to him all the time. But, bro, when I hear him start talking about MMA, I just want to pull my hair out because I think he is so unknowledgeable. Brian Alvarez knows about fighting because he actually trains as a fighter.
Right.
But I think Dave doesn't know shit. I think Dave thinks he knows, but Dave is like very connected because he used to be a writer for MMA and everything, and he's been following the sport for so many years. But he just regurgitates popular talking points, and that's it. Like, he doesn't know shit. Oh my God. And like when I hear him like discuss fighters, like when I heard him discussing Kamaru Usman and then how dismissive he was of Leon Edwards' performance, I was like, God, this guy doesn't know. He doesn't know anything when it comes to fighting. I'm sorry.
I had a question here from Barry Wall.
Oh, coming in under the wire.
Yeah, Barry Wall. Actually, I always forget to check my email. He emails me questions. My bad, Barry. I always forget to go back to my email and add his questions. And he says, based on how I see the Cup going, it looks like we might see new faction Sonata versus Okada, new faction Finley versus Tama, Shota Umino versus ZSJ, and Hanare versus Shingo. That's 3 new title feuds and another that hasn't been done in 3 years. For all knocking that Gato's booking is getting in some places, he's giving us new factions and feuds. Do you think some people get blinded by the glory days and bang the Naito, etc. drum when we are finally getting new angles?
I'm wondering why we're getting so many questions about booking. Is there something going on in the communities where people are freaking out about Gato's booking?
I mean, just some of the stuff I've seen. I think people are just kind of questioning, obviously, with Dade Finley getting pushed, what's happening with the Young Lions, what's happening with the LA Dojo guys, the whole Kenny Ospreay debacle. I think Gato's booking's kind of been in question, especially, the fact that, he hasn't been a winning Booker of the Year in a while, too, since TK's come around.
No, not the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards.
I think there's a lot of things where people are kind of questioning, what's going on. During the whole pandemic, people were like, what's going on with New Japan? Is New Japan coming back? So I think that's kind of where a lot of this discussion is coming from.
Listen, I mean, here's the thing I would say. Do I think that what has gone on with this tournament would build new fans? People, like, if they're just tuning in, they've never seen it before, do I think they're going to be converted and be like, believers off of it? Like, no, not necessarily. But if you're tuning in and you're watching this tournament, I don't know how you couldn't A, enjoy it, and B, be surprised by the outcomes that are happening. And for that reason alone, I mean, I don't know why anyone would be sitting here like banging or rallying against Gato's booking. I mean, some of the things that you brought up, Jeremy, I think are very valid. But by and large, when it comes to this tour and this tournament, I think that this is one of the most enjoyable New Japan Cups in many, many years.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most intriguing ones. Like, there's so many cool things that we didn't even think were going to happened, and we're seeing guys get elevated, new feuds, new factions, new pushes.
The booking was way more creative than it's been probably since this show started. This has probably been the most surprising and most fresh New Japan Cup we've seen in years.
Yeah.
And then even though on paper the wrestling matches didn't look like they're going to be that great, I think they over-delivered on that aspect. Like, were there a bunch of match of the year contenders that you're going to fill up your notebook and go ring it from the rooftop that New Japan's back and they're killing it? Like, no. But none of these matches were bad. I mean, maybe one or two, but for the most part, this was a really enjoyable, easy to watch tournament. And I found it highly enjoyable. And it wasn't anything where I was like, damn, I wasted my time. Like, I've thoroughly enjoyed the story, and they've combined great wrestling with good storytelling. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the tournament. I just think people, I don't know, just find something.
Bro, fuck people. If they were really good, they'd have a show like Keepin It Strong Style.
The longest running weekly episodic New Japan Pro Wrestling podcast on the internet today.
I had someone reach out to me recently, and they were like telling me about what was going on in the community, and I was like, bro, like, they were like talking about like the pro elitists, and I was like, we don't really fuck with the pro elitists, you know what I mean? and then I was like, but we don't really fuck with like the casual Western audience fans that just want to book AEW dream matches and that's all they care about either. I was like, we don't really fuck with anybody. We just kind of watch the show, do our own thing, show up here, talk shit, turn off the computer, and deal with none of the consequences of any of the terrible things that we said. And then we just show up again the next week like nothing ever happened. That's it.
Oh, man. Well, let's move on to close the show out here with recommended match of the week. So we were on hold from last week. So the last recommendations we had for the excursion match of the week, you recommended to me Zack Sabre Jr. versus Blake Christian from the ROH TV tapings, where Zack defended the NJPW World TV title against Blake Christian. So check this match out. It's my first time watching the rebooted Ring of Honor. Very, NXT 2014, 2015 feel, which I know NXT was pretty much copying, Ring of Honor back in the day. So kind of that kind of small time indie vibe, but modern graphics, modern stage, modern lights, kind of a cool looking vibe. And I thought the match was very good. The crowd was kind of interesting. It didn't seem like this was a super smarky crowd because there wasn't the big, go Zack Sabre Jr. chants. They seemed to know Blake Christian a little bit more than they knew ZSJ. But overall, I thought it was a really good match. The kind of story of the match was, Zack was the technical wizard here, the Techers, and he was kind of out wrestling Blake Christian for majority of the match. It was a great spot that popped me where Blake goes for the Fosbury flop to the outside, and Sabre catches him in a cravat. I was like, that is the most anti-Rich Latta pro wrestling spot I've ever seen in my life. I was dying laughing. But yeah, majority of the match, like Zack was cutting off Blake, getting him in holds, getting him submissions. He was doing some really nasty submissions to Blake Christian. But then, Blake did get to a chance to fire back. He did get to hit the Fosbury flop eventually, hit a Spanish fly. He was, doing these high-flying offense coming back. But towards the end of the match, Zack caught him in a submission hole, middle of the ring, tied him up, kind of like a triangle kind of like maneuver. Had no choice but to tap out, and it's kind of one of those matches where Zack kind of eats up the younger non-technical guy. Did it in like a little bit over 10 minutes. It looked really good. Really enjoyed this match. I don't think this will end up being a excursion match of the year contender, but it was a really good match to check out and fun to watch.
What would you rate this match?
I'd probably go, 30.75, somewhere in that range.
Okay, nice. So, Jeremy, you recommended to me Tomohiro Ishii versus Tetsuya Naito from Invasion Attack 2014. And one thing I took a look at here, so, I don't think I've watched any of the Naito Ishii matches from that year. In fact, like my first introduction to that feud was like in 2016 when Naito had won the world title and was defending it against Chaos and defended the title against Ishii and everything like that. So these earlier matches, I hadn't seen them, but this was really incredible. And what's interesting about it is this was the third match that year in a trilogy of matches between the two of them. They had wrestled at New Beginning back in February, where Naito came into the match as the champion and dropped the Never title to Ishii. And I think this is coming right off of failing to win the IWGP title back in January of that year versus Okada. Because I remember he went into that match as Never champion. So I think he loses to Okada, turns around the next month, drops the title to stablemate Ishii. Then in March, they have a return match at the New Japan Cup. Naito picks up the win, qualifies for a rematch. So they do the rematch in early April. And apparently the first match they had in February is even better than this one. So I definitely want to check that out. But this match was so fantastic. I mean, did you see it?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay. Like, because I was like, damn, like, bro, every single time I see young Naito, I just forget how athletically gifted this guy was and how he used to move and all the high flying and high octane, action and the way he used to bump. Like, there's a reason Naito is such a star. And if you watch him today and you weren't like familiar with his earlier work, you might be confused and you might not remember, but like this dude paid the price. And like him and Ishii went out there and they had a battle, like a literal fucking war. And this match is like short, but also kind of long for the style they're working. That never style, a sprint pace. They go almost 18 minutes, which is a short in the grand scheme of like New Japan House style, but it's not overly long. It's not short by other standards. So, but they did some really crazy stuff. I mean, Naito was bumping on his neck and his head so much throughout this match.
Much, yeah.
And then him and Ishii were really, really stiff, especially Ishii, like with his all these various different headbutt maneuvers, some that he doesn't even still do today. And like it was weird just watching him. I mean, this is almost 10 years ago. It doesn't feel like it, but it's almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
And like him and Ishii and Red Shoes all look so much younger. But yeah, they went to war. They had a really, really awesome match. The tail end stretch is classic New Japan style, back and forth reversals, like crazy finishing sequences. But ultimately, like Ishii just starts getting the upper hand, starts hitting all sorts of big, power moves on Naito. At one point, hits him with a last ride power bomb for a great near fall, big enziguris, huge lariats, and he just like Naito just keeps kicking out, but like you just get the feeling as time is moving on and he's not getting the comeback that you're like, damn, he's about to go away, and then like eventually he goes up and you're like, oh shit, hits him with the brainbuster, 1, 2, 3, and like Ishii defeats this man definitively in their first major feud. The right guy went over for me in this match. But it's rated 8.58 on a Cage Match, which is a really great rating. Dave Meltzer went 4.5 at the time, and I really love this match. I'd probably go about 4.5 as well. And the other match that they have from February is actually the highest rated match they've ever had, including several of those really great matches they had like in the G1 back in like 2017, 2018. Mm-hmm. This is rated higher than that. 9.28. Dave went 4 3/4. I need to see that match.
Yeah, we'll throw it on the docket for recommended match of the week coming up. But what do you got? So you got the recommended match of the week this week.
Yep. So this week for the recommended match of the week, what I wanted to do was give you something from a New Japan Cup Finals that isn't necessarily a New Japan Cup Final. So I took a look back, and this week for you, I have a quarterfinals match between Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi from the New Japan Cup on March 15th, 2015.
Nice. You can't go wrong with a Naito-Ibushi matchup.
Yeah, watching that match just made me a little bit nostalgic for a good Naito match, and then I started thinking about him and Ibushi, and I was like, let's run one of these back. And we've actually reviewed the finals from this card between Goto and Ibushi before, but this match is on the same evening and it's even better.
Nice. Then for the excursion match of the week, we'll go to Impact Wrestling from their No Surrender pay-per-view that happened February 24th with a Time Machine, which was Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, and Kushida versus the Bullet Club of Kenta, Ace Austin, and Chris Bay. And that match is on New Japan World under the Impact section, so you can check that out there. And I heard this match was really good.
I'll definitely check it out, Jeremy. Dominic Mysterio beat Johnny Gargano clean tonight.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Wow. Talking about booking malpractice. Oh man. Yikes. Well.
Oh man, what a show.
Yeah.
What a show.
Well, let's wrap things up here. Next week we'll be back to review the finals of the New Japan Cup and start looking towards Sakura Genesis. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. You can follow the network at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Instagram, at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I am the pro black guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boy. The Grave Consequences, hosted by Caleb and Maserati. All Things Elite, hosted by Floyd and Austin. The AEW Match Guide Podcast, hosted by Sir Sam. And the Great Match Generator, hosted by Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiba.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to BreezeLine, where you'll say, "Ta-ta, T-Mobile," because we've got more reliable home internet that's a whole lot faster. In fact, 10 times faster. No, seriously, because we have real internet backed by our fiber-powered network. And T-Mobile, well, they just have a 5G cellular network. So act now to get superior home internet. Find your perfect speed with prices starting at just $19.99 a month for 24 months. Terms and conditions apply. Go to breezeline.com to learn more.
Lowe's knows how to get your lawn ready for spring. And right now, you can get up to $20 off select Scott's Triple Action Fertilizer. Plus, get a Cobalt 40-volt 15-inch string trimmer or leaf blower. Your choice, $149, only at Lowe's. Get set for spring. Visit us in-store or online today, because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 3/9 through 3/22. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.